So we've come to the final conversation of the evening, and if it's anything like what we've already seen, it will be one for the ages. You'll notice a familiar face that was brought back for round two in order to, premature applause, in order to have a more productive discussion about a very important topic, this time with a moderator. Where do social justice, the secular community, and identity politics meet? Our first guest is none other than the famous Dr. Richard Carrier, esteemed scholar and renowned mythicist. If you're new to the world of mythicism, it is and I should define it, I guess. It's the view that the person known as Jesus of Nazareth, among other famous religious historical figures, had no historical existence. In this sphere, Dr. Carrier is a heavy hitter, having authored many acclaimed books such as On the Historicity of Jesus, Hitler, Homer, Bible, Christ, and The Christian Delusion. Apart from his work in the religious realm, Dr. Carrier has spent his career promoting social justice within atheism and beyond. And he's still trying to beat his dad at being the first to terraform Mars. Welcome, Dr. Carrier. You'll notice the suspense. He waited. Good move. And now, returning to the MythCon stage for a second year in a row, because why the hell not? We have, hold your applause, Carl Sargon of Akkad Benjamin, a popular independent vlogger with over 800,000 vocal followers. He is a skeptic of ideologies, both theological and political, and his channel is dedicated to rational arguments backed by evidence. Sometimes a polemicist, at other times soft-spoken, Sargon of Akkad has created a considerable amount of content regarding skeptical thought. He's known for popularizing the classical liberal label, and he is a dungeon master. Although, according to Brittany Simon, not the good one. Welcome, Sargon! That was rambunctious. And that is my favorite word. Moderating this intellectually stimulating conversation is none other than longtime friend and supporter of the organization, Mario Quadracci. Mario is a freelance journalist and writer reporting on a variety of subjects with a particular focus on issues of crime, winning numerous regional and national journalism awards. He's a composer, musician, and multimedia artist. Sealing Spirits, write that down, is his piece de resistance, and it dropped yesterday. So go out and download it, like, immediately. And fun fact, he can and will hold his breath underwater for 3.5 minutes. So if you're trying to off him that way, good luck. Welcome, Mario.
How are we doing? It's been a feast. Anybody save room for dessert? This is it. All right. So we want this conversation to be as free-form and just kind of naturally evolving as possible. So I'm just going to get them started and then kick back and enjoy my beer and the fake wheat and let you guys do your thing. So, Dr. Carrier, let's give the stated topic its due here. Besides sounding like a place you don't want to be at 2 a.m. dressed as Jerry Falwell, where does social justice, the secular community, and identity politics meet?
Yeah, that's right. So how do I answer that question succinctly? Basically, my view is that, so theists criticize atheists and saying atheism is bad for the world, right? So because it's going to make us not care about justice, not care about our fellow citizens, and not do compassionate things and things like that. And that argument is only true if we actually think that we aren't going to care and stuff like that. But so I think atheists should actually, for the good of the world and the good of ourselves, care about the world and how the world is, like making the world the kind of world that God would have, but there is no God, so we can't, right? So like when you're complaining about argument from evil and things like that. So we should care about justice and the welfare of our fellow citizens. And when it comes to social justice, that's a factor where we have things, I think oftentimes where there are certain people that are being treated in a discriminatory way that we should do something, and it may just be changing perception, might not be actual legislation, to address these problems, these discriminatory realities in different social systems. I think we should care about that. Now, however, as you know, I also think that there are bad ways of going about this, and I think there's a triage involved and all of these other things we can get into particulars of. But I think that's what, I mean, atheists should, of all people, even more, because they're atheists, care about the world that, you know, the theist's God does not, in a sense, right? And do something about that. And so I think, and if we do evidence-based reasoning, we find that there are these discriminatory realities. And they might not always be as extreme as some people say, or they might not be all the cases, but you're going to find a lot of evidence of it in a variety of different ways. And this isn't the only thing we should care about. I'm just saying that we're talking about social justice, so it's just one category of things that we can care about in terms of making the world better. It's not everything. But that's my take on where atheism and social justice meet. Now the question becomes, how critical, how evidence-based do we get? How hypocritical are we not in dealing with it? And so I think that is a valid debate about that. But I don't think like chucking the whole thing is a good idea.
Okay, well, I think that the intersection between atheism and social justice is the same as the intersection between social justice and any other community that can possibly exist. It is an outright car crash, and everyone hates it, and they want you to go away. Right? And I'll tell you exactly why, too. Because you're sat there going, well, I think we should be compassionate. Well, you can't make compassion compulsion. You can't make people be compassionate. And that's what social justice does every time. It is unbelievably coercive. The reason that social justice warriors are considered just tyrants of the internet is because that's how they act in every social sphere. I mean, name a community that hasn't been cursed by social justice. Even the furry community has alt-furry, okay? Everywhere recognizes the same pattern of behavior, the same kind of tyrannical, deplatforming, censorious agenda that's based on arbitrary characteristics like race, gender, and sexuality. There can be no concord there. Social justice is also hegemonic. It wants domination of every space. We can't allow that. I mean, don't you feel like you're in the midst of a revolution?
No.
Really?
But I do, no, let me acknowledge that, though. I think there is a lot of SJW extremism that is a problem. I think everything you list is real. Those are issues. And we should criticize those things. But that doesn't, it's a fallacy of affirming the consequent to say that there are bad social justice warriors, there's extremists on this issue, or extremism on this issue, therefore all social justice is bad, therefore there's no better, more evidence-based, rational way to do it. I think that's a fallacy.
Okay. It's not that they're all bad. There are obviously some that are not bad. You are a tiny, unrepresentative minority of your community.
Yeah, well,
You do not represent social justice warriors.
No, that's actually not true.
No, that's completely true, right? We know we've all had, hang on, let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead,
right?
yeah.
We've all had experience with this. We know what these communities are like. They are vindictive. They are malicious. They go after you for things. I mean, look at Christy Winters, what her post was. It was me, the quartering, and then you. Who got the worst rap on that? You did. I don't think you're a sexual abuser, but they do.
Yeah,
How
right.
can you defend this?
Yeah, well, you're just repeating
No, I'm
the
asking
same.
you a question. How do you defend that? You
By
are,
pointing out-
by their standards,
I'm not
you
defending
are a
it.
bad person.
I just said I'm not defending that. That extremism exists, but you only focus on that. And that's a real
because that's
problem.
what's
We are
hurting
dealing with it.
people.
No, you're talking mainly about a small segment of very loud internet amateur activists, rather than looking at like people who run the Global Fund for Women or people who run Open Policing Project, like serious professional
Do
social
you
justice
see them
work.
objecting to the damage that their activists are doing?
Well, they don't have any control over these people and probably
But they don't even
read
say
any
anything.
of their stuff. They don't even know these people
Then what
exist.
difference does it make if they exist? The ones that are doing the damage...
I agree that we should raise awareness in terms of criticizing these extremists. And
No,
I
we
think
can't
like you're
accept
saying
these
like
extremists.
I'm a minority in the vocal internet community, in the atheist community perhaps. I'd like to change that. And I think the best way to go is to actually move in that direction, get more rational social justice, rather than just chucking it all and like ignoring discrimination and ignoring problems in our society and the welfare of our fellow citizens.
Okay, don't worry about the welfare of our fellow citizens. We can't even have a proper conversation if social justice is the hegemonic rule set. We can't have these discussions. The only reason you
we
can...
can,
listen,
actually.
right? No, you can't. No, we can't. Don't give me that crap, right?
There's a
The
lot
only
of us
reason...
can
No,
do
that
this.
is absolute crap and you know, right? The only no, shut up. The only reason we can have these conversations is because these guys at Mythicist did not back down. They tried to do
I agree.
everything to ruin this.
Yeah, I agree.
Then
You're
don't sit
talking
there
about
telling me that they're a
all you're
minority
doing is
with no
talking about the
influence.
extremist SJWs. You're not talking about tons of rational people that can have rational discussions about this. There are lots of us.
Are there?
Yeah.
Where
they're
are
just,
you?
They're just not involved in
Look
this
at them.
movement.
Right, look, I have absolute respect for Music Man Mike and Chrissy Osti for coming here and discussing this. But they are hardly the best and brightest that social justice has to offer.
I
right?
agree.
And I don't know.
No.
I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
No,
they
you
would say
mean-
that themselves, right?
Yeah,
That's-
they're not right.
that-
They
that's
admit
something
they're
they would- I mean,
amateurs
I'm
in
not
this
the best
sense.
and brightest that I do, right? But where are those people?
They're out doing actual social justice
No,
activism.
they're actually actively avoiding this conversation.
Yeah, and I think we should change that, right?
Yeah,
I
but
think
you
we should
can't.
get them more involved.
You can't get them more involved.
I think, well, I don't
How?
think it's impossible.
How are you gonna do it?
The same way I got involved in doing this. There's several other people like me in this movement.
Several other people.
But no, but they just aren't as out and open about it because they don't want to take the shit that they get.
Because they're afraid. And not just of us,
Yeah, I
of your
agree.
people.
This is a problem. I agree that's a
Yes, I
problem.
agree. It's a massive
But
problem.
the problem is the extremism, not the actual existence of the problems that we deal with in society and the quest to find solutions for them. That is something that we should still value and do something
Okay, well,
about.
let's talk about the quest to find solutions from them, right? Social justice for me is full of never events, right? I will never accept racial discrimination as institutional policy. I will never accept gender discrimination as institutional policy. I will never accept sexuality discrimination as institutional policy, and social justice has no other solutions.
Well, we have examples, for example, that if you're going to talk about legislative issues, for example,
We're talking
women's.
procedural issues.
Yeah, but you look at women's access to abortion rights in America.
No, I'm not
hugely
interested in
curtailed.
discussing individual policies. We're talking
No,
about
this
the
is a real
procedure.
problem.
No,
This
how
is an
you-
example
how you
of a
get
real
to the
problem.
policies. Yeah, but listen, it's how you even get to the policies that you think are
Are
interesting.
you dismissing the existence of the problem?
No, I'm dismissing your solutions, right? The way you even achieve any kind of policy
Getting
proposal...
legislation passed that allows
No,
women to have
listen.
access to abortions is not a good solution.
No, not at all. We're nowhere near that, right? We're analyzing
mean
how
we're
we
I
can
don't
get...
understand. Nowhere
I
near
know
what?
you don't. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. You keep interrupting me.
What
right?
are we nowhere
We
near?
are trying to get to the point where we can actually have a conversation about these things, right? You think, not you personally, sorry, I won't say you, there are many social justice activists that think the categories of race and gender and sexuality and all of the other ones are valid vectors by which to discriminate against, as long as it's done in the right way. And as soon as you say, well, I don't approve of being called a straight white male, they say, well, I can't be racist, sexist, or anything else to you. That's unacceptable. That's a never event. That's a bad procedure.
Keep
It doesn't even
repeating
matter.
the same fallacy. You're focusing
not-
on people who are doing it wrong.
Are you insane? That's not a fallacy. That's literally how social
you're-
justice works.
No, it's how those people, you're picking the people that do that and saying that's
Okay,
social justice
yeah,
and
you're right,
ignoring
okay.
all the other social
Okay,
justice
you're right, you're right,
activism
I'm
that's going on in the world.
I am ignoring the marginalized social justice activists like you who have no influence over the wider social justice community. I'm speaking to the people in
Well, I'm talking
institutions.
about, like, these are just people who like talk on the internet and have like
No,
occasional
they're not. They're people
college
who are
protests.
legislative. My parliament is full of feminists. One of them, an MP called Stella Creasy, said, feminism is not about women, it's about power. And she is right. Every word of that is accurate.
Well-
it's all about power.
I can't speak to Parliament because I don't know
No,
the
you
politics.
can speak to
I don't know the
feminism.
politics in your country in that regard. But we don't really have that going on in our Congress. Can you think of an example in our Congress of that, someone saying something like that and doing something like that?
Are you insane? Like, do you even pay attention to the Democratic Party?
Well, give me an example.
Yeah, okay. I was watching the DNC and the various candidates to be the next party or DNC president or whatever it is. And this white woman literally got up and said, "It's my job to shut white people down."
Yeah,
Defend that.
okay.
Defend it. Defend it.
I'm not going to defend that.
Exactly.
I've never heard that.
Exactly. And that is all of social justice in a nutshell. White
I
people are the
disagree.
problem,
That's
and they
bad
have to be
social
stopped.
justice.
No, that's social justice, full stop, right? And
Okay.
this comes from a distinctly
what if-
Marxian
what if
worldview.
we call
No,
it
look,
something
no,
else?
No,
I
we're
mean-
not calling it anything else, because this is what we're dealing with, right?
Let's talk about a real problem, like abortion.
That is a
access.
real problem.
No. Yes, I agree.
That's why we're all here.
That's not what I meant. That's not
No,
what
but
I
that's
meant.
what I mean.
What I'm talking about are the actual problems in society that we should be working to solve.
We can't get there. You people are insufferable and we can't stand you.
Obviously not me. I am clearly a disproof of your point.
You're defending them.
I'm
Why are
not
you defending
them? I've actually said to you multiple
Okay,
times
well
on
then-
stage that I don't defend the extremists that you're
Yeah, but
talking
you
about.
can't sit
I am
there
I am an
you-
actual example, a counterexample
Yes,
to your
but-
generalization.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm a counterexample to your generalization. And if we look at a real issue, for example, abortion access in America, women getting access to abortion.
I'm
There
not
are
discussing
lots of
abortion.
people,
I'm not
thousands of
doing it.
people, millions of people who are actually working on that social justice issue to solve it. And they aren't bothering harassing people on the internet. They aren't bothering saying stupid shit like that.
You don't know
They're
that.
actually doing things and actually
don't know.
accomplishing them. And even if you think all of them are doing these horrible things, even though they're trying to get improved access to abortion rights, you should be advocating a more rational way to accomplish the goal of increasing access to abortion, right? Aren't you in favor of that?
That would
Don't you-
assume that they would listen.
Well, don't worry about them. I'm just talking about solving the problem. Forget the social justice warriors
Forget
or whoever
the
the
people who are
bugbears are
currently
you're
in
talking
the-
about. I mean, the problem. Let's just look at the problem. Abortion access. How do we solve it?
No, I don't care about abortion access in your country.
So you don't?
No, not at all. I
You
care
don't-
about
you
the
don't-
intersection of atheism and social justice.
So you
like
don't
the topic
care-
we're here to discuss.
Okay,
The
this
topic
gets
we
back
are
to the
here to
point.
discuss.
No.
We are going to discuss.
is-
No, we are going to discuss what atheism and social justice, how they have collided, and what atheism has done. I mean, take for example the 2012 Reason Rally. 30,000 people in Washington D.C. How did it look in 2016?
Oh, I didn't go. I don't know.
Yeah, and right, no one else did either. There were like 3,000 people. This is what social justice does to every single community.
Yeah, I
There
don't-
is a phrase called get woke, go
I don't
broke,
think
and
you
it
gotta-
exists for a good reason.
I don't think you have causality there, but okay.
Oh, we absolutely do, right? And it's because social justice warriors, the way they rule a space, the legislation, the rules they put in place, the way people have to interact is insufferable. And the way that they've taught to people,
There's no
when
evidence
people
that
object to
social
this,
justice activism reduced the population, the audience of the Reason Rally, that was the cause of
that's,
that.
are you
That's just
kidding
a
me?
leap
That
of
happens
assumption.
in every community. There is a
But you don't have any
dissident
evidence
group.
of that causation. You're just assuming that's the cause.
I've
This is
been
what I don't
there.
like about your work. Is
I
that you-
was in this.
But that, no, that
Oh,
doesn't.
my lived
that's not
experience is
evidence.
suddenly not relevant.
No.
All of these people's lived
That
experience
is
is
not what I
suddenly
said.
not relevant.
This is what I don't like about you.
Oh,
is
I
that
don't care what you don't like
were,
about
no,
me.
No,
I
you
can
were
get
straw
stormed
manning
off
me.
the stage then.
No, look what you do.
If
You
you
keep
don't like
straw
it-
manning me. You keep ignoring the things
I'm
I'm
not-
saying and saying I'm not what I'm saying. I'm saying the opposite of what that is.
You are here to defend social justice.
No,
we know what
you're
social
sitting
justice
here,
does.
you're being disingenuous. You are
being
not
disingenuous.
legitimately engaging with what I'm saying. You're not listening
That's
to what
because-
I'm saying.
yeah, you're
you're
right,
not
yeah.
actually acknowledging what I'm saying. You're denying, saying the exact opposite, accusing me of things that I've actually
That's because you won't
opposed.
stay on topic. The question
No,
is how
that's
did
not what's
atheism and
happening.
social...
All right, let's try to make us move
No.
on. So, Dr. Carey, what are you trying to say? How do you want to frame this?
Good Lord, on which thing? I've tried several times. Let's start over. Let's forget social justice, the word. Let's not freak out over the word. There are problems in society that I think we should care about.
Yes.
Like women's access to abortion, as an example. That is something that's important. There is discriminatory policy going on in America, especially in many states where it's extremely difficult to have abortion access. They use a lot of different loopholes and other aspects, protests and various things. This is something that we should work against. The only question left is, what should we do to solve that problem? I don't care about the weird extremists that do whatever weird-ass shit they do. I'm concerned about the actual social justice problem of abortion access and what will actually solve that problem. And that's what I think we should be talking about. And yes, we can also criticize the extremists and what they're doing and why it's bad and so forth. That's also valid, but we can also care about the issues and do something about them. And I think that's real social justice activism.
Then why didn't you insist that the topic of this debate was abortion access for women?
That's one example.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
We can stack
You're
example
doing
over
this to
example.
deflect
example.
because, you know,
yes,
fundamentally...
abortion access is
whenever
a social
ju-
justice issue by definition. That is what social justice is
I don't
about.
care what the social justice issue is. The question is, what happens when social justice and atheism intersect? And the answer
But what
is
you mean
bad
is
things.
social justice extremism, not social justice. Because when I say social justice, I mean issues like abortion access. That is a social justice issue. You then go to the extremists, and you're talking about a different class of people.
Okay.
You're talking about a different issue than I am.
Okay.
That's why I think you're hung up on the word. If you don't want to
them-
call it social justice, that's fine. Let's call it just,
There
I
is
don't know.
no such thing as social justice. This is a phantom.
Let's
right?
just call
you
it
can't even
elimination
define
of-
social justice.
Well, I just did. It's
Go on,
the
define.
recognition of discrimination in society, like limiting women's access to abortion. That is a form of
Do
discrimination.
you not think that it involves some sort of rebalancing of society?
What do you mean?
Well, I
You
mean,
mean like
observing
rebalancing
a
as in
problem-
giving women abortion rights?
Observing a problem, implicit in the term social justice, is a desire
No,
to fix
I
the problem.
disagree. I disagree with that. It is not implicit. In fact, that would be a fallacy for any when you point out social justice people who do that and
Okay.
say that, they are committing a
How-
fallacy,
how-
and that's a valid critique.
How can you have group justice?
What do you mean by group justice?
Well, that's your point. That's social justice. What is it?
Abortion access for a group of people called women.
Yeah, but
That's
what
an
about
example.
women who don't want that? What about women who find abortions to be morally reprehensible and want you to stop?
Yeah, we have to work against them to get abortion rights for women.
So we're not doing this for women. We're doing this for a certain set of political ideologies.
Wait a minute, are you now advocating, are you seriously advocating that you think
I'm not
we should
advocating shit.
support limiting access to
I'm
abortion?
not advocating shit. I'm pointing out you are not the
No,
representative
what
of
is
women.
your view on this, on abortion then?
I'm
let's
not
lay it
just
out.
addressing my view on abortion. It really doesn't matter
No,
what it
because
is.
what you just said suggests that
Stop
you support...
changing the subject.
No,
Focus
I'm
on
on
the
subject.
topic of
The
this
subject
debate.
is social justice. Abortion is a social
Focus
justice
on
issue.
the topic.
This is a relevant
We're not
topic.
talking about social
We are on
justice
topic.
issues. We're talking about what social justice does to communities.
You're talking about social justice
That's the
extremism.
topic of this debate.
No, see, you're talking about social justice
that just
extremism,
happens
and
to
we agree
manifest
on
in
that.
every community.
No.
Yes, it does.
It's not true.
Yes, it does. It's absolutely
There
true.
are thousands of abortion rights activists
Stop
that are
talking
not
about
doing
abortion.
the things you're talking about.
Stop talking about
You
abortion.
can pick any issue.
Well, no,
Racist incarceration.
Choose a community and tell me where there isn't social justice activists.
That's a fallacy. Though. Just
How is
because
that a
they're-
fallacy? It's a
No,
question.
Just because you can find some bad actors in a group does not allow you to
But when
assume
there's
that
a
all the members of
consistent
that group are bad
pattern of
actors.
bad actors everywhere, all the time, and you end up
It's
radicalizing
like you
the
did
furry
this- you did this
community,
in a
we
video
have to
once.
address the problem.
You did this in a video once where you found
I don't
one
care.
you found
Address
one
the
protest.
question.
You found one protest where people were quoting a Marxist maxim, and you argued that therefore all social justice activists are Marxists. And
Well, they
that's-
are whether they know it or not.
No, that's affirming the consequent. It's false.
No,
It is
I can
massively
okay,
false.
No,
I'm
Richard,
a disproof of this.
Stop
There are
talking,
tons
and I'll
of people.
explain it to you if you like.
Okay, go ahead. All
Okay,
right.
sure. Right. So, yeah, sure. Social justice comes out of postmodernism, right? Postmodernism, I think, is most attributable to Foucault and Marcuse. And Marcuse literally said, what this is designed to do is to confer a certain spirit of Marxism into social activism, because socialism fails everywhere it goes, right? The problem that we have is the dichotomy that social justice views the world under. There is an oppressed class and an oppressor above them, and it is just to hate your oppressor. That means you are perpetuating hatred everywhere you go against the minority,
Okay.
against the majority for the minority.
All right. Now I can't give links right here,
Then
but I've
don't
got.
bring it up.
I
if you
have
can't back it up.
several. I can show you numerous examples of social justice activists who would repudiate what you just said and say that they don't agree with that
Why
view.
can't you do it?
No, of course I am. No,
Go
you
on,
just
then.
said you just said I'm unique. So I'm pointing out that there are.
I never said you were
said
unique.
that. No, look. You tried to claim that I'm rare and there aren't others like me.
No, you're a minority.
I'm refuting that point.
You're an
because
oppressed
actually,
minority.
When you look at professional. No, look.
Yes,
when
you
you
are.
look at professional social justice activists who aren't amateur internet people.
What, like Linda Sussel?
I don't care about that. I'm talking about the ones that I would look at. When you go looking for
your
real.
preferred ones.
Yeah, exactly. The
Well, I'm
ones who
sorry,
aren't extremists.
Your preferred ones aren't the ones calling the shots. I'm really sorry to say that.
No, but they are. No, yeah. I mean, it's not as simple as one is calling the shots and the other's not. One is actually disruptive, and the other is trying to get shit done. And that's an issue. I agree. The extremists are a problem that we need to address.
Okay,
but there are also these people who would deny, up and down, it's not about hating your oppressor. They would say that's actually wrong, and that's a complete
And who are
misconception.
these people?
Yeah, I'll give you several links.
Okay,
there are lots
great.
of
But
really
in the
important,
meantime, I will-
significant authors today who are promoting social justice, who advocate that message.
Okay, but in the meantime, if you just search for this on Twitter,
Yes,
it's
you
right.
can
No, no.
find bad actors. That doesn't mean they're all bad actors. That's fallacious logic.
I am not
If you
saying.
go looking
listen,
for bad
listen,
actors-
Richard, right? Listen, right. Stop for a second. Ask yourself when I said all social justice warriors are bad actors.
Say again?
When did I say all social justice warriors are bad actors?
You've said it several times
No,
tonight.
I haven't.
All right,
I've
we'll play
literally
back the
acknowledged
video
the fact.
later.
No, I've acknowledged the fact that you. I mean, I'm not you personally,
Okay.
and a small group, a minority of you, are not bad actors. You're willing to come and have these conversations, but you are the minority of social justice activists.
No.
The majority will not be here.
The
This is
majority's
why.
not in here. They're not on the internet doing this
No, but the
kind of
majority of
stuff.
them won't even answer the emails.
No, I just told you about multiple examples of major
Well, that
social
doesn't make the
justice
majority.
activists who write about racism, race conciliation, and they actually repudiate the view of social justice that you just said correctly is bad.
Okay.
There are tons of these people.
I'm sure there are in your particular bubble tons of these people.
Well, let's assume that's the case, that there is, let's say 5% of us, for instance, are the rational ones. That's just like atheists being 5% of society. The goal is to get more of society to be atheists, just as the goal is to get more social justice people rational rather than irrational.
And how do you think that's going?
We're working on it.
Yeah, badly. I thought so too. Yeah.
No, I don't
No,
think
it's
so.
going terribly. You are a pariah in your own community. You are suing other members of your own community because of the smears they put against you because they are social justice warriors and you are being unfairly maligned. I defend you on this.
Yes. This is another example that we have these extremists. They
Yeah.
do exist. It is
And
a
if
problem.
you-
And I think criticizing them is legitimate.
Okay,
But I don't
no,
think
no,
you
no,
throw
no.
all the issues under the bus that
We're not
they
talking
are
about the
badly
issues.
trying to solve.
And this is what I've been trying to
We
explain
should try
to
to solve those issues.
We
can
will.
care about
We
those
will
issues
absolutely
and do
solve
them.
these issues, but we won't do it through social justice methods. This is what I'm saying. The procedures of social justice. No, don't.
You were
no,
defining
listen.
social justice.
You're not listening,
All right.
right? The procedures of social justice are unacceptable in civilized society.
Okay. When you say that, you mean the
Don't
procedures
tell me what I
used
mean.
by a
No,
subgroup.
don't tell me what I mean. Just address what I've just said directly. Don't try and reframe it, Kathy. Just address what I said.
No, I have to reframe it.
No, you don't.
That's bullshit.
Address
Because
what I said. The
I've
procedure-
told you there are activists who write on this issue who do not follow those procedures and do not
care.
advocate those procedures. So there is a form of social justice that doesn't use these procedures that you loathe, correctly criticize. We need to actually work on that. Let's attack the people who are using the bad methods and give them, let's say, this is what the good method is,
Okay.
and acknowledge the problems exist rather than deny the problems exist or deny that we can solve them. There are things
Okay.
we can do that actually will make the world better.
And
We should be
how-
working on those. And you can criticize the extremists
okay.
who are
No,
getting
no,
in the
no,
way
no.
and fucking things up. That's totally fine. It's when you conflate the two that you're not helping, you're
So,
also being disruptive.
As you said, 95% in your estimation just now.
that was a made-up statistic. You know that you're doing this again.
No,
You heard
what,
me.
using your words.
No.
Yes, I have.
I actually explicitly said I was making up a statistic. I
That's
did
fine.
not say it was the
I
actual
accept
statistic.
your
It was a
statistic.
hypothetical statistic. You
I
know that's
accept
what
it.
happened, and you
I
just tried
accept your
to
hypothetical.
you just tried to weasel out of that.
No, I'm accepting.
You actually
I
no.
am
You
accept-
just now said that I said that was the percentage.
Yeah, and I'm accepting
Okay.
your hypothetical statistic.
And you're saying
right?
you agree it's hypothetical. This is not a
Yeah,
percentage.
no,
that you verified.
I'm sure,
Okay.
I'm sure it's less
All right.
than 5% that are reasonable.
I'm
social
sure that's
justice
what you
activists.
believe.
But I'm going to be that
But don't
charitable.
attribute that to me,
right?
is what I'm saying.
I'm going to be that charitable. What is your plan?
I'm doing it.
Are you?
Yes.
You're suing them for being slanderous towards
That's
you.
dealing with the bad actors. Meanwhile, I'm helping solve the real problems by promoting actual rational ways to do this. And there's lots of people who are doing the same thing I'm doing. I've mentioned that I can give you a list after this
Yes,
if
you
you want.
can give me a short list of people who you personally like.
No. Yeah, people who are doing good activism,
Yeah.
who are advocating good methods, who have a lot of attention and a lot of influence, and there's a lot of people who are doing what they're doing.
So people who I would probably not describe as social justice warriors.
Correct. I think so.
Okay.
By your
okay,
definition,
okay,
yeah.
great. No, that's great. Right.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do, and for the rest of this conversation, we're going to take those people and we're going to put them to the side. These are the nice social justice activists.
Sure.
We're going to put them to the side. That 5% that will generously turn, we'll put that to the side. Now, the 95% that are in our institutions, all over Twitter, that are bullying people, trying to drive people out of house and home, attacking their livelihoods, my livelihood. What are we going to do about them, Richard?
Do what we're doing. Criticize them.
How do we do that when they're constantly deplatforming people, Richard?
And I agree, that's a problem. We shouldn't allow that.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We agree on this.
Yes, we do.
There's no
But you
disagreement
don't
here.
have any solutions.
We're doing it.
No, you're not.
We're up
You're
here on the
failing.
stage. We're not
You're
deplatformed.
failing. Yeah, but you're not on the stage because of social
This is-
justice.
we actually have
you're
one of
not
the
on the stage
largest
because of any
audiences.
of your activism. You're on the stage because they wanted someone to come and held to account for this, for all of the things that social justice is doing.
No. They support me on this. This is the thing. There are actually tons of people who care about this and doing it rationally. I am sure there are several in this audience. I don't know how many of you agree with me. But no, let's be clear. What I'm concerned with is you agree with Sargon that there is a lot of social justice extremism that is unhelpful for the cause. How many of you agree with that? So we're out there. It's hard work. You're right. There's a lot of it's a
It's an
big
impossible
problem.
task that you can't do. You haven't got the
We're all
facility
doing it.
to
You're doing it in a sense when you try to criticize.
No, I'm not
that.
trying. I'm not trying to
The
fix
only
social
problem
justice.
I have, you criticize them all the time. You've
Yeah, but
done
there's no
videos.
fix-
You've got a huge
There's
audience.
no fixing it.
You
If
have-
I can't
you
do
have
it,
tons of influence.
Yeah, if I can't do it with 850,000 subscribers, you can't do it with 5,000 subscribers.
You're having an impact. You're having an impact.
I know, but it's not.
The question is,
it's not for what you want.
what I dislike is that you throw the real issues and real problems and the real solutions under the bus, and you
No, I
don't
don't
address those.
No, I don't. These things can all be addressed, but the problem is we can't.
Oh, so you do agree that there are ways that you agree there's discrimination in society, it's a problem, and there are solutions for it.
Well, it depends what we're talking about on a specific topic.
Correct, yeah. But
So,
in
yeah.
general, you could think of, there's a few examples of
Yes, society is not perfect and things
Yeah.
need to be fixed. Yes.
Right. No, that's actually important. No, that's actually a significant thing for you to admit, right?
That's significant.
Yes, because it almost sounded like you were denying that earlier, so I'm glad that I got that
No, it
clarified.
didn't. It didn't. No one
But
thought
you
that.
do
Richard.
agree-
No one thought that.
But you do agree that so these problems exist and there are real solutions we should be working at. And so the thing is like there are lots of people in the social justice community who simply mean by social justice issues, those issues, and by social justice methods, those solutions. We need more of those people. We need to expand those people.
Yeah, but you can't.
Well, I don't
Why?
believe in this.
Why?
I don't believe in
Because
this
the
pessimistic.
people that Richard wants to reach are busy indoctrinating university students every day. No, don't interrupt.
Well,
Richard,
we're
right?
reaching
No,
these
no,
people
Richard,
too.
don't interrupt, right? They're busy indoctrinating these people every damn day, right? And they come out marching militantly, saying, we hate capitalism, we hate liberalism, we hate the West, we hate white people, we hate men. And they're everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. You can laugh,
People
but
who
everyone
actually
knows
say
it, right?
hate to all of those things
Yes, they do.
are not that
Yes,
common.
they
no.
do.
You can find your
These
occasional
are
college
wildly
protest.
common.
You can find your occasional, 100 students maybe out of college of 10,000, 30,000 students, right? So you can find these people, like those
Yeah, but
Marxists
these are
in
the
your
social
video.
justice activists. The rest of those students aren't SJWs, mate.
But they are working on they care about the social justice issues and are
you
working
don't
on
have
solving them.
magisterium on people who think
It's
they're
not
trying
like,
to fix society.
It's not like the only people who are trying to solve the actual discrimination problems in our society are these extremists you're talking about.
I never
There are
said that.
way more people who are actually solving these problems, care about these problems, and are working on it. You just
Yeah,
don't
but-
want to call that social justice for some reason.
because they
but that's
don't-
what it
no,
is.
I'll tell you why. Right? It's because they don't describe themselves as social justice activists.
They would. Yes,
no,
they
they
would.
don't. No,
They would
wouldn't.
say that this is a
No,
social justice issue.
No,
Yeah, they
no, I really don't think they would.
Yeah.
And I think that that's because social justice has a definitive connotation. Everyone is aware that social justice activists are a specific group of people, and they are utterly obnoxious.
No, see, you're overgeneralizing. You're saying everybody knows this.
Yes, this is a widely held perception.
Yeah,
It's a generalization.
There
that's true.
might be a lot of people who think that. I don't know.
There
But
definitely are.
I'm talking about, if we look at just the superset of people who care about what actually are social justice issues and actually do things about it that are not these extremist things, that superset is way freaking larger than the subset of people who are these obnoxious
Sure.
extremist people.
And we'll put them to the side too, because they're
Yeah,
not the problem.
well, I call all the rest of those people the real social justice warriors.
Okay, I don't care what you call them.
Well, it matters if we're going to have this conversation about where
No.
do atheism and social justice meet. It meets right freaking there,
No, but
and not
those-
down here at the extremist group.
You do not speak for those people.
I speak for the larger majority of people who are actually doing it right.
You absolutely do not.
Yeah, I do.
No, Richard Carrier does not speak for anyone.
I cite them, I link to them, I quote them.
Yeah, but this is not the large majority of people. This is, again, your tiny bubble that has been ostracized by the wider social justice community because you have moral issues that
the
they
wider
can't
social
bring.
justice community doesn't even know who I am. The wider social justice community
I agree. That's why you can't fix these problems, Richard.
No, the wider social justice community doesn't have this problem, so they don't need to know about my attempts to
course
fix
they
it.
have this problem.
It's the people that are having this extremist problem. Now, I agree.
No.
I would like it if people would, if you could do videos that were focused and not in saying all social justice is evil, but focus on the actual extremism and say this is a problem.
Okay.
And we can
Let's talk about the
get this spread
Let's
to
talk
more
about the
people.
basic principles of social justice then, right? Why is it that social justice promotes a concept called hate speech?
Promotes the concept of hate speech?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not that researched on the exact different doctrines of hate speech, so in which country are we talking about?
Any country, it's one of the underlying principles of social justice, that language can be controlled by telling people what they're doing is using something called hate speech, otherwise known as free speech.
Well, in the US, we don't have hate speech.
Yes, because the US is still technically a liberal country.
No,
this
but
is
we
the
don't have
continued-
laws on that. So, like, you're thinking like certain specific countries that have laws like this.
No, I'm not, right? The only reason you don't have hate speech laws is because of your First Amendment. And the second one of
Yeah.
these people come for it.
Yeah, and this is where we agree. I think as soon as social justice people...
Stop there, right? This is where we agree. Where did your First Amendment come from? It didn't come from intersectionalism, did it?
Well, it hadn't been invented yet. I mean, you're talking about the Enlightenment.
It's not
We didn't even have
compatible.
evolution theory yet when,
Okay,
that was
listen,
when they came up
the
with that.
First Amendment is a contradiction with intersectionalism. It contradicts it.
What is a contradiction?
The First Amendment, free speech.
Only a contradiction to the extremists.
Well then, as I said, right, we'll take the group that you don't think are the extremists. We are talking about the people, the huge group of social justice activists you consider to be extremists.
And we agree on them.
Great.
So there's not really anything to discuss.
Then
I don't
don't
want
defend
atheism
them.
to intersect with that group. And
Okay,
I think
but
it's
this
bad
is-
that we are.
But this is a core problem with social justice.
It is not a core
Yes, it
problem
is,
with
and
social...
you're just making
See,
excuses.
you're talking about an ideology. I'm talking about a phenomenon.
Okay,
Social
yeah, I am
justice-
talking about an ideology. Yeah.
No, social justice is the reality. It refers to the fact that there is discrimination in society, period. And then there's the question of how do we solve that? And you could have different ideological ideas about how you solve that
Okay.
problem. All of those ideologies are social justice ideologies.
Okay, how
but
about
some
this, right? You can say
are
you
not
want
good, some
social
are good.
justice as much as you want, but there is only individual justice.
No. Well, no.
Yes, there is.
I mean,
necessarily.
No, because if you look at, you can have non-individual injustice, because you can have limitations to abortion access that affects women, not men, right? So it's not,
but every woman
it
is an
affects a class
individual.
of people. And when you look at like racist incarceration bias, that is affecting a class of people.
Listen, let's go back to your abortion one. Again, right? There are women who oppose abortion. There are women who do not want abortion rights. They think abortion rights are murder.
Yeah.
Right?
So social justice people are fighting those people.
Yeah, I know, right? But what I'm saying is from their perspective, you are an oppressor.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Yes, I know you don't, but they still exist and they still hold these opinions.
But see, all you're doing is talking about, you're trying to talk about this weird extremist social justice concept.
I'm talking about the ideology of social justice.
You're talking about one ideology of social justice, a toxic ideology of social justice.
Yes.
I'm talking about actual social justice that doesn't endorse that toxic ideology.
Okay, yeah, but that's you special pleading. So, this isn't my one. This is their
It's
one.
not special
This one
pleading.
isn't my one. This is their one.
It's
Okay,
goals.
Okay,
So
okay.
the whole question is, should atheism and social justice intersect? And the answer is yes to the social justice activism that is evidence-based and critical.
That's what you want.
Yeah,
But that's not what we have.
I agree.
Then why do I care what you want? It doesn't reflect reality, Richard.
Well, no, here's the question. Let's assume I could do it. Let's assume that somehow I had a magic wand that it could make social justice, like all of the actual social justice activism that's actually getting things done and is not doing the bullshit that you're talking about,
Yeah.
doesn't endorse that ideology, and make that spread like a virus to everyone so that you get rid of all social justice extremists and you just have the social justice I'm talking about. Would you approve that? Would you think that would be a better
Probably
world?
not. I still would think you're procedurally incorrect. I mean, you're busy collectivizing people on race, gender, sexuality, blah, 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 blah.
So you
And that's
still,
anti-individualism.
You still reject the idea of we looking at systematic
Well, I tried to
bias.
explain this earlier to you, but you were too busy interrupting and not listening. The problem is procedural. It's how you get from A to B that's the problem. There is never going to be a time when I'm going to say, yes, it's okay to discriminate against white people because they're the majority.
Let's back to the analogy that we're working
No,
from.
why can't you address the point I'm making?
No, because I don't understand you. Because are you saying, because it sounds like you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, so I may be wrong.
Sure.
It sounds like you're saying to me that there is no possible way, there's no solution for the problems of abortion access in America, that we should just give up
I'm
and
not
not do anything
talking
about
about
it.
abortion access in America.
I am. I'm talking about real social justice causes and how we solve them. The actual solutions, not the bullshit stuff that
Okay,
extremists
but
bring.
we're demonstrably talking about the ideology of social justice
Do you
intersecting
think
with
this
the
problem
atheist
can be solved in
community.
America? Abortion access, the issue of rights.
I'm not talking about abortion access.
I am.
I don't care. I'm not. The
I am
subject
asking
is
you.
not that.
No, I asked you a question before. Is like, if we could get it spread, the rational way of doing it across everyone, would you approve of that? An example would be rational ways of trying to solve this disparity
I
in our
don't
system
know what you're
about
defining
abortion.
as rational, Richard.
Any method of solving the problem that you would approve is probably going to be rational, I'm assuming.
Well, it depends what it is. I mean,
But that's the thing is, are you saying there's no solution and we should give up and not fight for women's rights and abortion?
I'm not talking about the issues
I'm
you're
trying to
concerned
get you
about,
to
right?
just answer that question, please, because this is what's a key issue.
Women have the same rights as men in this country. That problem is over.
No. That is not true. No, we have many states in this country where abortion access is almost zero because of gerrymandering of laws that make it almost impossible for abortion clinics to operate. We have masses of people who are protesting.
Stop. Do you know that the women do not also agree with that?
Wait, what?
Women in those states, I'm guessing you're talking about conservative Christians.
But okay, what
The
is
women
your
in those
position?
states
Do you side
don't
with those
want
women?
abortion
Who
access.
cares what they think unless you're siding with them? Do you think? Are
No,
you
no,
actually
go on,
siding?
Mr. Male Feminist. Tell me who cares what women think.
See, you're falsely generalizing again.
No,
you're
I'm
making this
saying-
false assumption
no.
that I can't possibly criticize any woman for anything. That's not feminism. That's the social justice extremism you're talking about. No,
not
of course.
saying that.
Women
But
who are against abortion are
okay,
wrong, and we
listen.
can criticize them for that. Social justice people do that all the time.
There isn't really a right and wrong in politics, right? In politics, you have opinions. What do you prefer? I believe this, you believe that. Now, everyone's got their reasons for these things.
What do you
right?
prefer in this
No, I
issue?
don't care. It doesn't matter what I prefer, right?
Okay.
I'm not here.
You're evading. You're not going to answer this question.
Oh,
I
don't
get it.
talk to me about
No.
evading, Richard. Come on.
No.
Come on, let's be reasonable here.
No.
No, but what you're saying is that these women's opinions don't matter because they don't line up with your opinion. Who are you to tell them that their opinions don't matter?
That doesn't make any sense. Anytime you vote against a policy that someone else voted for, you're doing that. So are you like objecting to democracy now? I don't understand.
Yes, Richard, I'm objecting to democracy. That's the rational interpretation.
No, but that's what you're talking about. You're trying to say that
Obviously,
for
I'm
some
not.
reason I
Hold
can't
on.
say that some women are wrong about the abortion
I've
issue.
never said that. You can say that all you want, but they will also just ignore you. Now, the
Who's-
question...
who's they?
Listen,
What are you talking
these-
about? There are tons of women in here who agree with me.
Stop, and I'll explain it, right? The women that you are talking about are your fellow citizens, and you're opposed on
Yeah.
these... Shh, right? You're opposed on these issues. That will be settled at the ballot box, right? But until then, we leave them alone. We don't have to...
leave them alone?
Yeah, we leave them alone. We might... No, listen,
That's all
listen.
activism is trying to get votes to
Now
change
that's
the
fine.
laws.
Yeah, no, it's not. Holy crap, man. And I know you
Yes,
want
no,
to talk... No,
the
you want to
social
talk...
justice
no, listen.
activism I'm talking about,
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
exactly. You're talking about the box that we've put aside.
I'm talking about
and
real
that-
social justice activism that
Oh my
actually
God,
gets stuff
we're
done.
talking about the ideology of social justice. Let's
You're
focus
talking about
on
an
that.
extremist ideology that
No,
I also
okay,
disagree with.
Okay, let's reframe this, because obviously you can't think of it this way, right? By what objection do you have to these, what are the principles by which you're operating in order to come to the conclusion that you are not like the extremists?
You mean by your definition of the extremist? Let's be
No,
practical.
your definition.
Then I don't understand your question. What are you even trying to get at?
How do you differ from social justice extremists? Now, okay, so I came here expecting that you'd want to talk about
I don't embrace this ideology you're talking about.
Right, so you're not here to discuss it.
I'm not here to discuss that, no. I'm here to discuss the real social justice activism
Okay,
that
but
actually
everyone
gets
is
things done.
expecting us to talk about the social justice ideology.
And we agree on that. So there's nothing to talk about.
Well,
We
then
both
what-
agree it's bad.
Why do you seem so defensive?
What are you talking about? What do you mean defensive? Defensive of what? The issue is
the
this.
social justice ideology
He
that's
asked the
currently
question,
calling
started
you a
this whole
rapist.
talk. Where should atheism and social justice meet? I've answered that question.
Okay.
And then you want to go talk about some other form of social justice that I agree it should not intersect with. So we
Right.
don't have anything to
So
talk about.
is this a semantic game that we're playing?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Sargon
Right.
does this a lot. This is one of his
I
strengths.
do this a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
I do this.
Semantics and Sargon affirming
Do you
the
know
consequent.
anything about social justice whatsoever? The entire premise of social justice is that language is oppressive. And I am the one who talks about semantics all the
Oh
time.
my God.
You're
No,
the one
you're
who are
talking
just,
about
you're
a-
just not equipped for this
You're talking
conversation.
about one weird ideology.
You just do not understand your own ideology that you claim to profess,
No.
and you can't discuss it, even if you
It's
don't hold
not
to
an
it yourself.
ideology. Social
I-
justice is a fact of society.
Social justice is absolutely an ideology.
No.
We call it intersectionality.
Maybe the term is loaded.
No. There's
Sure.
I mean-
discrimination in society. That's a fact. That's not an ideology.
You wouldn't agree with that?
Yes,
There's-
but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the ideology of intersectionality.
No. He's talking about you're talking about a really obscure, sort of elaborate,
Obscure.
bizarre ideology.
Obscure.
Well, okay, I'll
It's
give
not
you,
obscure.
It's widespread. I'll give you that.
It's in
yeah.
my government,
I
it's
misspoke
in
on that.
your government, it's in every university, it is everywhere. They have their own institutions within the universities to propagate diversity. It's like a religion. They have a priestly class.
What's an
they have
example-
activists and proselytes. They have blasphemy laws.
In the U.S.
Yes. Okay, maybe not the laws in the US, but that's only because you have a First Amendment in every other fucking Western country, man.
Well,
Come
yeah, and I
on.
oppose that.
Yeah,
I'm against that.
Okay, but you're not prepared to be able to discuss the ideology that we're all here to discuss then.
Well,
so
speaks
sorry,
to-
The
no, but that
question
speaks
is,
to my
should
point
atheism
even more,
intersect
right?
with it?
No,
We
no.
agree on this.
No, but this is...
The answer is no.
Yeah, but
Done.
this speaks to
Conversation over. There's nothing
I
else to
agree,
talk about.
I agree. There's nothing for us further to talk about because we couldn't get someone to defend this ideology. That's the problem.
Why would you want to necessarily? No, that's the thing. Is like I don't defend that
I
ideology.
know,
So,
I believe you.
Yeah.
But you...
so
it-
the question being posed to me is, should atheism intersect with that? And the answer is no. I think the
that's-
answer is it
but-
shouldn't
yeah, but
intersect with
this-
that
this-
ideology.
this,
It
in
should
my
intersect with
opinion-
real social justice
Yeah,
activism.
but this, in my opinion, is you weaseling out of the problem.
No,
Yes.
I'm answering the question.
No, you're weaseling.
No, the
You're
question is,
absolutely weaseling.
I'm not fucking weaseling.
Let's
Come
talk.
on.
Look, you're talking about
I have
procedure.
freaking answered the question.
Sure.
The
Just-
question is, where should atheism and social justice meet? The answer is right where I described the intersection. You're talking about this other group where I agree it should not intersect there. We agree. There's nothing to talk about them.
Okay. You can storm off now.
I have no reason to storm up.
I know, I'm joking. I'm sorry. No, you're right. You know, and I do genuinely appreciate that you're not Thomas Smith, and you know. Yeah, come on, guys, come on. Come on. Look. The problem that we have, right, is you can't just sit there and use the term social justice in lowercase and say, well, this is just something completely different to intersectional capital social justice
So you're
that is
afraid of the
everywhere
word.
and causing all of the problems. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
terrorizing
I think
the
it's the
entire-
word. I think it's the word we're hung
He
up
just
on.
doesn't like the word. Yeah.
No, listen, it's not just that I
Identity
don't like the
politics.
word.
Yes, that is also in the question.
Yeah, but the thing we're really talking about is intersectionality. That's what we're talking about, right? But everyone uses colloquially the term social justice because that's what all of these people talk about all the time. And we all know they do, so don't pretend they don't, okay?
Yeah, you're right. No, the ideology is a problem. It's out there.
Yes.
I agree.
Now,
And that is not where atheism should intersect. And we both agree on that.
right, so
But
hang on, just to
it's
confirm.
okay.
Dr. Richard Carrier believes that social justice and atheism should not intersect.
only your particular version of social justice.
It's not mine. It's coming
Well,
out of the
okay, no,
university.
I didn't mean yours. I meant what you have
But the
defined,
one that
what
we're
you have
talking
chosen
about.
to
Yeah, and
focus on.
I agree. Anyone who
I
is-
think atheism should
Okay.
intersect with social justice, but the good kind, the
Okay,
stuff that's not doing that.
how about we, because the thing is, right, you dismiss the idea of semantics, but semantics genuinely matter here, right? Because we are dealing with an ideology that is built on language. And like, the very concept of language itself is the oppressive nature of what the ideology is identifying.
that's a
right?
great
So
critique of
let's
them.
redefine it, right?
But
okay,
neither of us want
hang on, let's
atheism to intersect with
let's
that.
use a different term, just so we're both clear, right? So I think the question you're answering is, where does progressivism and atheism intersect?
Yeah, sure, if you want to use the
Now
word.
now that's fine, because there are lots of progressives who are not in favor of deplatforming, not in favor
Yeah.
of harassment,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
in favor of all this.
Good way to put
and
it.
I am more than happy to credit you with that, because you are clearly not that kind of person.
Yes.
But there are lots of people who are intersectional, and that's the far left radicals who hate capitalism, who hate white people, they hate the imperialistic West, all of these people, and they're really numerous.
Is
And
that
they-
how you see intersectionality, Richard? I know you just read it.
No, he's misusing the term. But
How am I misusing the term?
No, intersectionality is, once again, it's just a reference to a fact of social systems. It's not a reference to an ideology. You're attributing it, you're referring to people who attach it to an ideology.
Hang on, no, hang on. It was born from an ideology.
Even if that's the case, it's still actually a correct, factually correct description of social systems.
Okay, but there are lots of factually correct things that we find politically inactionable because of the damage they do to individuals along the way.
They only do damage when people pile ideological stuff on top of it.
No,
The fact of intersectionality itself is just an example of that there is discrimination in society, and it exists on many dimensions, and some people intersect in multiple dimensions,
Yeah,
so
but
they have to deal with multiple kinds of
this is all
discrimination.
interpretive based on ideology.
It's
The
just a
ideology-
description of the fact of the world.
No, listen.
And if we want to solve that, there are solutions
Listen.
that you said, like, for example, progressive solutions. Let's say not social justice solutions.
the
Progressive
things-
solutions,
no.
as you would call it.
Look, the things you identify as being problems are based on your ideology.
No, they're facts. They're observable, documented, scientifically documented facts, multiple replicated studies.
But it's the fact that you notice them that is ideological.
What? What are you talking about? I have no idea where you've gone at this point.
Well, that's exactly my problem. I honestly
What
think
is your
that-
problem?
I'm
That
telling
I
you.
acknowledge scientific
If
facts?
you stop interrupting me, I
Okay.
will let you know, right? So the problem is every ideology has a specific set of, I guess we'll call them principles, first principles,
Sure.
that give people a lens by which they view the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this lens effectively colors things and picks out, highlights certain things about certain people. And that's how we recognize that someone is operating using one of these lenses. When they start talking about certain things, often
Okay.
using particular language,
But
right?
connect this to what we're talking about. What's the relevance
Okay,
here?
well, this is the relevance, right? The problem with this is that this means that anything that we do, and this is where the postmodernists are right, everything we do is ideological to a degree, right? So the
Sure.
question is, which ideology do we allow to have hegemony over our spaces?
Mm-hmm.
Now, intersectional social justice, when that's come into a space and it's been very aggressive, it's been very hegemonic, and this happened everywhere. It's happened in comics, it's happened in video games, it's happened in the furry community, it's happened in movies, in Hollywood, it's happened in academia, it's happening in my government right now, it's happening everywhere. When this ideology is given control, everyone suffers, apart from the small pool of activists who effectively act like the bloody Bolsheviks. Okay, this is the problem. Now,
And-
no, you're not defending that. You're not defending
No,
that.
yeah.
Right, so we can both recognize this happening, and surely everyone
Yeah,
sees
yeah.
this. Right.
Yeah, but the only thing that's weird about that, and regardless of the semantics of it, what you want to call it, that all happens. And I think it's completely legitimate to criticize it.
Right.
The only problem I have is when the criticism becomes, well, let's just throw all the real problems under the bus, forget about the problems, there's no way to solve them, let's not talk about how to solve them.
Okay, but
That's the problem I have. That's what I don't
that's
want
fair.
atheists to do.
That's totally fair, right? The problem is we can't get to that stage of the conversation because these people, not you, these people interrupt the conversation because they come along and they attack people.
I agree, that happens.
Yes.
It actually doesn't shut down actual progress on real social justice issues.
I think it does. I
No,
think
no,
that no,
we've-
hang on,
there's
hang on.
lots of examples.
Again, I don't think you should
I'll
defend
cite
these
the
people.
Open Policing Project as an example.
Yeah, but I don't think you should defend these people because what they do.
The Open Policing Project.
No,
You-
no.
you're-
Come on, Richard.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, okay.
Let's be a bit more
You were
mature.
referring to the earlier statement.
Yes,
Yeah.
obviously. Right? There are many people in this room who want to be activists. They want to make the world a best place,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't do that because of what the problem social justice activists, the majority of them, are doing. Right? We can't get to any of the solutions that you want as a united force while social justice intersectionality is an active power against us.
Yeah, and we criticize them. But no, you
Yeah, but that's
can
not enough.
actually do
No,
tons
that's
of
not enough.
activism, and there are tons of people who do volunteer work, who
Sure.
actually do actual protest work, who actually do funding of lobby groups, funding of groups that actually go into third world countries and try to help women secure their rights in other
Yeah.
countries. People are doing real things. They're actually
right.
doing stuff that actually matters.
Yeah.
These social justice warriors that you're talking about are not really, I mean, they're disrupting a little bit, but they're not stopping this progress. I mean, there's actual work getting done. Actual things are being done. Right.
Okay, then I'm not talking about that. Right?
Well, I am. That's what I'm
Okay,
talking
hang on. Good for the people who are going to Africa and doing actual real work. Great for them. That's very laudable. I completely
Well,
salute.
here too in the U.S., people go into
Okay,
neighborhoods
okay.
and do the same
Yeah,
thing.
okay. But everywhere else, like the places that we operate, we're encountering these people. Now, I know, and again, I'm not trying to, like, say,
You're talking about atheism, for example, the atheism community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's been done to every community.
No, I agree. It's a problem.
And I know you agree. So at this point, really, what we I guess we can have is an abstract conversation about the nature of intersectionality. But you don't believe in that.
What do you mean don't believe it? I don't adhere to this ideology they're talking about.
Yeah.
But the word intersectionality doesn't refer to that ideology. You're
Yes, it
using
does.
the word
No.
weirdly.
It absolutely does. That's the term they chose for themselves.
Okay, no, they don't call themselves intersectionality. That's
They
an
call themselves
abstract noun.
intersectional feminists. They are furious
Yeah,
about the TERFs
no,
who are not intersectional.
oh my God, this is
Don't
affirming the
lie, man.
consequent again. You're saying that just because these these extremists call themselves intersectional feminists, that therefore all intersectional feminists are the extreme ideologies. That's affirming the consequent. It's a standard fallacy of logic.
That's allowing them to define their own ideology. Let them do it. They are happy to declare that they are intersectional.
Wow,
and
you
then they act
didn't
that
hear what I
way.
said at all. No, you're
Right?
not making. You're violating logic.
No, I'm not violating logic. I'm
yes, you
just
are.
telling you about things that exist.
No, you
Stop jumping to logical fallacies. This isn't what we're talking
this
about,
is-
Richard.
yes, it is. You just said-
I'm not making an argument. I'm observing a thing that's occurring.
No,
This is like when I ask you
you're
a
drawing
question and you
conclusion.
jump, oh, that's a fallacy.
You're
It's a
drawing
fucking
a
question.
conclusion.
Hold on.
Oh my
So,
God.
Sargon, are you saying that just the very existence of this contingent of social justice warriors is actually impeding, making impossible the actual change that we wanted?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Without
That's
doubt.
it.
Saying.
But what's worse is they're operating a particularly nefarious ideological agenda. And
So
we,
how do we circumvent that? Or
well, one thing we have to do is essentially realize what's happening. And this is the problem, right? This is the question of the ages, and I'm not even saying I have the solution, right? Because as far as I can see, these people are effectively the new Cathars, which were a Gnostic heresy that existed in the, what was it, 13th century? You're the historian.
Not my field.
Oh, in Languedoc.
I'm
there was-
ancient history.
Okay. In medieval Languedoc, south of France, there was a heresy called the Cathars. And they called themselves the good Christians. And their priestly class were called the perfect ones. And these are people who acted like Jesus, or as they perceived Jesus to be. They dressed in rags, they prayed all day, they worked with the poor, they had nothing. And their belief was that the entire material world was created by an evil being called the Demiurge. And above that, beyond that, there was the actual God of the universe who was all light and peace and love. But we could never know anything about him because we are material. That is the worldview of intersectional feminism when it comes to language. They think everything in our world was created by an oppressive, tyrannical, patriarchal, imperialistic, white male regime.
and what's above that in this analogy?
That was a false generalization. That's where he commits the fallacy.
Okay, so
That's not, no,
what do you-
Richard, I'm here.
Because
so
you
talk
just
to
said
me.
all
listen,
intersectional
right?
feminists think
listen,
that.
Right. You talk to me, you don't talk to him. I'm the one
Yeah.
talking to you, right? But more importantly,
Did you
they
say-
do think that. They do think that.
All intersectional feminists think the thing that you just
This
said.
is intersectionality
This is your
as
statement.
the ideology is
No,
defined.
I want to make sure that this is what
in
you're
the
saying.
same way that all liberals are in favor of free speech.
So you're literally saying that everyone who calls themselves an intersectional feminist adopts the ideology you just described.
Imagine if you can find a few, I'd say, well, they're the exception that proves the rule.
There are
So this is
thousands of
definitional
people.
too.
Yes, it's
No,
definitional.
There's
It's
thousands of people who are doing this work out there in the world and are not adopting
are
that
not
ideology.
really intersectional feminists. I agree.
Okay,
I
that's
agree
just
with
semantics. You're just
you. No,
playing
but
tricks with
again,
words at
you're
this
talking
point.
about an ideology that's entirely based on the idea of semantics. Everything.
That's not even a
Okay,
relevant
stop,
point,
right?
okay.
Everything about social justice is about the redefinition of words. Define racism for me.
You just did it again. Oh my God. You just assume that all social justice advocates
don't
adopt that
care.
ideology. Oh my God.
Just answer the question, man.
Okay, ask the question again.
Define racism for me.
When there's discrimination against someone for their race, perceived race, skin
Right,
color.
you're not an intersectional social justice warrior. That's not the correct.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah, of course.
No,
That's not the definition of racism.
you are picking a definition maybe used by some intersectional feminists, but you're actually
Hang on, okay, hang on,
you're-
stop there.
No.
Maybe used by some of them. Maybe.
Let's not get in.
Maybe
let's not
used
get
by
bogged
some
down
of
in
them.
the
No,
percentages.
this is important.
The
because
percentages
this
aren't relevant.
No, this is very important.
You're actually
right?
saying that by definition, intersectional feminists adopts that ideology.
Say again,
Or
sorry. I don't
are you saying that it's analytical truth? This is an analytical proposition that it is a tautology. It is necessarily always logically the case that an intersectional feminist adopts that ideology.
Yes, I think that an intersectional feminist would necessarily have to, for
Okay.
example,
So you're
hang
just,
on.
you're just
no, listen,
playing
no,
games
stop
with
interrupting,
words.
and
Playing games with words. Yeah.
unfortunately, that's what philosophy is, right? So,
No, philosophy
Listen,
does
listen.
not play tricks. Philosophy is not about tricking people
that's
by
exactly why we're
manipulating
here.
words.
That's precisely why we're here, right? Now, this is the problem, right? The definition of
make any
racism
sense.
an intersectional advocate uses is not the same as the definition you have.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The definition of racism that an intersectional social justice advocate uses is not the definition you just gave me.
Well, what's the definition that you think they would use?
It's institutional power plus prejudice.
That's certain ones, yes.
Yes, but this is the philosophy we're talking about, the ideology of intersectionality.
Okay. No,
Yes. What?
not all intersectional feminists would necessarily settle on that definition.
Find me one
of
that
racism.
doesn't.
All right, I'll find one that doesn't. Okay.
So, Richard, can intersectionality be divorced from this kind of top-down power structure?
Yes, of course. Because intersectionality itself only refers to the physical fact of social systems, that there is discrimination, and then it intersects in multiple dimensions. Some people have multiple forms of discrimination against them in the system. It's simply an observation of what is factually real in the social system.
But it has to
So-
be coming from some sort of power structure, right? So that's wherever this oppression's coming from, it's coming from some
Just-
sort of-
Yeah, I don't know, I don't necessarily use the word oppression, but
I think
they
they
would.
would use the word
yeah,
oppression.
they do. I'm not a big...
But then implicit in that are power dynamics, aren't there?
Sure, yeah.
And you can't separate these power dynamics from the philosophy of intersectionality.
Well, of course you can.
No, you can't.
Well, it
You
depends on
can't
what you mean
define
by
a
power
damn thing in
dynamics.
intersectionality
If
without
all you
factoring
mean
power
by power
into it.
dynamics is the ability to create discrimination in a social system, then of course, yes.
Yeah,
But
okay.
if you're going to define it as something else,
No, we're not. We're going to
Because-
define it
okay.
how they define it, right? They cannot remove power from any equation, any calculation that they make.
yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So, and that's the problem. That's the ideology we're talking about. We've spent this whole time with you going, "Oh, that's not what I
don't-
think intersectionality
I don't care what you
is."
call it. I don't care what you call it. Whether you want to call it power or something else, discrimination exists. People are affected by it.
Yeah, but we're
We
not
should care
talking
about
about
that
that.
and do something about it.
I don't think you get to tell me what I should and shouldn't care about.
Okay, now, by saying that, are you telling me that you don't care about these issues?
No, I'm telling you that you don't get to tell me what I should
That's
care about.
fine, that's fine. I
Then
just,
don't
I
tell
just,
me I should care about it.
I want to know what you
You
do
just
care
said
about.
that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I'm
I want
not
to...
interested in talking about what I care about, right?
I'll take it
I'm
back.
interested in talking, I
I
care
wanna
about
get
talking about
past that.
intersectional social justice. You
I
won't
just
have
want to
this
know, do
conversation,
you or
and
don't
that's
you?
okay.
Do
If
you or don't you
look,
care about these social
if
inequities?
If you're not prepared to have this conversation, I guess that next year,
You're the one dodging
hopefully-
the question.
No, I'm not. Listen,
You've
right?
dodged this question all night. Do you care about these issues?
This is not the question we're here to discuss.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
We're
Richard.
talking about where atheism and social justice should meet.
Yeah.
This is where I picked it.
Yeah, this is where
We should-
you've picked it. This is where you've done this.
I was asked
and
the
you've done this so
question.
you can avoid actually talking about the philosophy of intersectionalism.
But
Because
no,
you
no,
know
no.
on Twitter
Okay,
you're going to
no.
get
I'm not
roasted
avoiding
by
talking
your
about
fellow
the philosophy
SJWs.
because we have nothing to talk about on there because we agree.
Yeah, exactly. So why are we here?
Apparently, there's no reason for us to be here.
No, there isn't. And it's because you won't stand and
It
actually
sounds to
defend
me-
the community you came out of.
What are you talking about? I'm attacking the same people you are attacking.
But that's only because they attacked
And
you
you just
first.
agreed that what you want to call progressives are the people that I'm talking about as real social justice. So in fact, it sounds like you agree that my alignment with progressivism and not what you want to call social justice, intersectionality, or whatever, my alignment with progressivism is good, and their alignment with that ideology is bad, and we need more atheists over here and less over there. Is that an accurate
but you
description?
can't do that.
Whatever. I'm not that pessimistic. But we agree on the goal. You just don't think we can get there.
No, I don't think you can get there.
Oh, okay. How are you going to get there?
Oh, I'm not. I'm going to destroy it.
Well, that's the same thing. So
No, it's
how?
not.
No.
I am going to
That's
tear it
just
up.
getting rid of it and
Richard, shut up
destroying it
and
are
let me talk for
synonyms.
5
What-
seconds.
how are you gonna destroy it?
Shut up. Shut up.
How are you going to destroy
Shut
it?
up.
Answer the question.
Shut up.
How are you going
I'm
to
not
destroy
answering
it?
any of your questions.
Hold on.
You're just avoiding.
Hold on.
Stop interrupting
Hey,
me and I'll tell you what I'm going to say.
let's keep it
Okay.
civil, please.
Yeah, okay, this ideology has to go. The fundamental contradiction. Why are
I
you
agree it has to
interrupting?
go. How?
Why are you interrupting me? Why can't you
Because-
let me finish a sentence? Because you know
Because
that
you're
what I'm
just
going to say
repeating- you
is
just
going to
keep
box you
repeating
in a
yourself.
place where you know you're fucked. That's why.
Look, you want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it. We agree on this. There's nothing else to say about that.
then
We
stop
agree.
interrupting me.
Then answer the question. The next step
No,
is how
I'm
do we
about
get
to
rid of
tell
it?
you what I'm about to say, but I want you to stop talking.
Okay. All I want to know is how
Could
you
you
how you
moderate?
think we should get rid of it. This
Well-
is the topic we should be talking about.
Yes.
Is how do we get rid of it?
Okay, I'm going to talk,
Yeah.
and I don't want you to interrupt me.
Yep.
Can
and
you
then
do
Richard,
this?
And then Richard, you go.
Go.
Uninterrupted after.
Okay. Intersectionality, I don't care whether you believe it or not, and I don't think you're defending it, right? But the topic that we're here to discuss is intersectional social justice, what it does to communities, and the reason that it does these things. Everyone assumed that you were going to defend that, but apparently you're not, and that's fine. We'll have to find someone who will, because I actually want to get into that with someone.
Ah, I
right?
see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't believe this is such a
Yeah.
difficult thing to understand.
But you
right,
should have known
no, no,
this coming in.
hang on, what,
Like you knew this.
why would I know that coming in? You call yourself a social justice advocate. You operate in that community.
You've read my works. You know what my positions are.
Yeah, but you operate in their community. I assumed you held some of their beliefs.
I do, obviously. I've described to you the beliefs that I share with them, and I've described to you the beliefs I don't share with
but you
them.
don't seem to
But
have
you
any
already knew these
principles.
things about you. You even referenced that fact
You
earlier.
don't seem to have any principles. You seem to be.
Of course
You,
I have principles.
no, you seem
They're
to
just
be,
not
no,
their
no, listen,
principles.
that's not even, I'm not even meaning that as an insult.
I have a
You
whole
see-
book written
no,
about
listen,
that.
listen. You seem to be a utilitarian from what you're saying, right? You seem to say,
Consequentialist, I'll say.
well, there we go. And I'm not. I'm a proceduralist. I'm a liberal. The way we get to the end is
Okay.
as important, if not more important,
Sure.
than the end.
In political theory, I agree. Yeah.
No, it's not just political theory, in real life, okay? Now, listen, there are some distinct contradictions with liberalism that intersectional social justice operates by, right? Now, and these are, yeah, I know we're not in disagreement about this. That's the thing, I don't know why you keep interrupting me. I'm just saying things that I know you will agree with.
I see. You want to just describe this ideology for the audience?
Well, I thought
You don't need to
might
describe
defend
it to me.
So I assume I don't. But, I mean, like, for
I'm just
example...
trying to figure out
okay,
what you're trying to get to
let's-
here.
Okay, so are you okay with identity politics?
I'm not even clear on what you think identity politics
I think
means.
you are, because I read your blog. So let's go through what you said about identity politics.
Okay,
Sarah.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I've made loads of notes, folks. I believe you called all politics identity politics. Is that correct?
Ah, yes. You want to talk about how the version
Ah,
of
here we go.
identity politics
so
that
you,
I
you
use to
said
talk
that
about.
identity politics is not a bugbear.
Right. It's
Okay, explain to me that
Yeah. Okay.
reasoning.
Yeah. You want to talk about my
Yeah,
definition
your
of identity
particular
politics.
reasoning.
Yeah, gotcha. Yes, I think identity politics is basically coalition democracy. People who, as a class, are being discriminated against, unite and to identify the problem of the discrimination, and then work to end it.
Okay. Do you feel that the alt-right are being discriminated against?
Give me an example. You mean like
White,
deplatforming,
like
or
Richard Spencer, do you think he's being discriminated against?
Well, was Spencer the one who got punched?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an example. Yes.
Okay.
That actually, I think I've been
problem
outspoken
is-
against that.
Okay.
I think that is
no,
yeah.
that's fair. That's of course. But there are lots of people who aren't against that, and these people.
I agree.
Yeah, and these people also have the same view of identity politics as you.
Sure. Which means, by logical necessity, they have additional beliefs that lead them to a different conclusion about what's right.
I'm
and
sure
wrong.
they do. I'm sure they do. I'm not saying
Yeah.
they. But also, your beliefs on identity politics mirror the alt-right's beliefs on identity politics.
Well, give me an example.
Yeah, they're for white people.
Wait, what?
They're for white identity politics.
Give me an example of white identity politics that you're talking
Collective bargaining power for the white race.
about. I see.
Like Black Lives Matter or the collective bargaining power
So
for
let
the
me
black
think if I can
race.
find an example there.
It's okay if you don't want to
Let's
take
do-
this seriously.
let's do men and women.
But this
That's
is something that's
easier.
really damaging our
I can't
civilization.
think one based on race, but let's think of an example that matches what you're looking at
Sure.
for men and women.
Sure.
So men have a hugely higher suicide rate than women do. And so I do agree that men as an identity have an issue there that we should care about and work to solve.
So would you describe yourself as a men's rights activist?
Well, see, the thing is,
Why
what
not?
happens with that term, and this is exactly what the left does, and I used to do this too, so I apologize for having done it in the past, is assuming that that label refers to everybody who's advocating for these ideas, right? Because people have this idea of an MRA in their
Well,
head.
again,
They have this sort of weird bugbear in their head of this
They
sort
do,
of
they do.
extremist MRA, right?
I wonder where that came from.
Right. No, I agree. This is a problem. And I'm not on that train anymore.
Anymore?
Yeah, because I was naive about the use of the terminology.
Great.
Now there are,
No, come on.
yeah. No, there are There are MRAs who are bad actors, just as there are SJWs who are bad actors. They have really bad ideas or wrong facts and so on. This is a truth. But there are legitimate men's rights issues. And there are legitimate organizations that work for them. You have like the Movember movement, for example. So yes, I think that is a legitimate example. And I think it would be, I think I would consider it a logical trick, basically, if an SJW would say, well, you're just an MRA then, and then attribute to me all the other bad ideas that they attribute to MRAs, when in fact that's not the case. I don't share
They're
those.
using it as a smear, aren't they?
Correct, but they use it as a smear because they assume that if you have one particular view, that you share all these other views, right?
I don't think that's the reason. I think that they're using it as a smear because what they see as men are the oppressive group in society. They believe that men hold the reins of power in society. And they think that men operate in the same way that feminists operate, which is group identity politics for women. And they assume that men operate like that already, and that's why the world is as it is. But procedurally, that's not how this happened. Again, every individual got to their station on their own and made the decision to get there on their own. This is the difference.
So to circle back to something we said earlier, there are tons of social justice activists who actually support certain men's rights issues, like the Movember movement, for example. Those are my people.
Okay, I'm not.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not saying you're one of these people at least anymore. I'm happy for you to say.
I'm just saying,
changed
like,
my
I'm
position.
trying to make clear that you can't say that, I mean, that is a social justice issue, right?
Sure.
Men's health, like disparities in men's health treatments.
It's certainly an issue that predominantly affects men.
Correct. And there are lots of social justice advocates who agree with that, think that's a real issue, and do work or approve of supporting
I'm sure there are.
to advance it. That's the social justice that I think
Okay,
atheism-
but that doesn't address the ideological problem of feminists who don't think that way.
Right. So
So you can't address any of these problems.
So how do we address them?
We have to essentially do what we would do with the alt-right. How do we address the alt-right?
You tell me what you would do about the alt-right.
Well, I would just not hire them.
Not hire them.
Yes, I don't hire
But-
Nazis.
Oh, okay, but
And I wouldn't hire feminists.
but how is that going to get rid of the alt-right? Like you personally,
It's going to remove their
how many people do you
institutional power.
employ? Like you don't employ that many people yourself. So
You don't know that.
So how,
I have a channel with 800,000
practical
people.
plan. You said there's got to be like how you get there is important.
Yeah.
How do we affect this plan of yours? is
Yeah,
what I'm asking.
we don't hire feminists.
Who's we?
Anyone who's in a position to hire someone. It becomes a social taboo. In
I
the
see
same
what
way
you're
as
saying.
hiring Nazis.
Isn't
see.
it kind of witch hunting though? I mean, how do you
Yeah,
how do you
this
even
seems-
figure this out through applications?
Good
to-
question.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess you
this-
can look at
this
their
seems to
timeline on
be-
Twitter,
yeah,
like
I don't-
everyone does. If they're screaming, white men are the problem, no thank you.
I don't
again,
see
I'm not
any
even saying
practical way to implement that plan.
Well, how do we
don't.
keep Nazis out of our institutions?
Well,
Same method for feminists.
but it doesn't work because no one's.
It doesn't work.
Well, no one goes around wearing swastikas on their heads. So how are you going to identify
And it's
these?
amazing how many Nazis they find, though, isn't it?
So here's the problem. Like, well, yeah, they weren't. So this gets to the whole issue of that's why that would be bad, because not all feminists are adopting the ideology they're talking about. So, just like not all people who get called Nazis are actual Nazis, right?
Okay.
You acknowledge the discrimination is there.
So no, we're not going back to talking about discrimination, Richard. We've passed this. So let's focus on what should be, right? We can all agree that moral busybodies who collectivize people and think that the world is based on two categories, oppressed and oppressor, and that the oppressed, whoever perceives themselves that way, are righteous when they hate their oppressor, that's a bad way to run the world.
I agree.
Great.
And there are tons of people who do social justice activism who repudiate that.
You don't have to defend anything.
They repudiate
You don't
that
have
view.
to defend anything.
No, I'm just
I
saying.
don't think that you're one of those people.
Yeah, no, I get it, but there are lots more people who are doing this too,
Okay.
who are
But
in the same position
you
as me.
spoke in defense of identity politics, and that's the consequence of identity politics, a hatred of another group.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
No, you have to.
Yes, it is.
You have to
It also
add an
validates the
additional-
alt-right. They're completely correct.
No,
if
you have to
think
add an
that's right.
additional ideology to get hate out of that.
No, you don't. You just have
No.
to. No, it breeds resentment.
No.
It
Come
absolutely
on.
does.
No, there's tons.
Yes, it does.
There's tons
you
of
haven't
science
even
on
thought
this.
about what I've said.
No, there's actually tons of science on this that it's only the particular way you go about doing things. It's not acknowledging the facts themselves that leads to hate.
Obviously. But this is the problem. It's the way of going about things is breeding resentment.
Great. How do we solve that problem?
We don't do identity politics. Identity politics is bad.
We have to.
No, we don't.
We can't. we can't address, for example, racist bias in incarceration if we're not going to even acknowledge that there are races that are being biased
Yeah, but
against.
I don't even necessarily agree with you on this point. Again, all of this is interpretive. So the question is, in the procedure, where is the racism? Like, for
This is
example,
what-
in
for
Baltimore,
example,
no,
there are
in
studies
Baltimore.
trying to figure that
No,
out.
listen, right? In Baltimore, black person commits crime, cops comes along, black cop comes along, shoots them, gets done by a black chief of police, ends up in front of a black judge. SJWs cry white privilege, racism. What's going on? It doesn't make sense, right? The procedure isn't necessarily the problem.
Well, that may be the case, but that's an evidence-based question. You go in,
Yes.
you figure this stuff out. There are people working on this, like the Open Policing Project is an example
Exactly,
of
but
this.
the point is, there was nothing wrong with the procedure.
No, I'm saying whether that is the case. Like, we don't know that's the case. You're just sitting there assuming that that's
Well,
the
no,
case.
I'm assuming it's not racism.
Well, no, racism is a statistical effect, so you can't pick a
No,
single
racism
instance.
is an opinion.
No, it's a statistical
No,
phenomenon of
then-
reality.
no.
There is actual bias in terms of like more. So, for example, black people are pulled over multiple times more than white people are. That's a statistical fact. That's not
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you
ideology.
don't know that's because of race.
What's that?
You don't know that's because of race.
How? How could it not be because
Prove
of
it.
race?
Prove it.
No.
Prove it.
What?
Prove it's because of race.
Okay, so we know, so black people are pulled over multiple times more often than white people, yet are, when they are pulled over, they are found to have contraband less often.
Sure.
Okay, so how else would be the explanation? You can't say that the black people were more criminal than the white people. So what?
Can I not?
So something is causing police to pull black people over more than white people.
You don't know that they're being pulled over because they're black.
How else would it have an
This
effect?
is the ideological cage that they're talking
No,
about.
like, but are you talking about like it's just random chance that this is a statistical anomaly?
It's more likely that black people are poor, and police pull poor people over more often than white, than middle class people.
Not enough to explain. This is actually
I believe
accounted
it-
for
it-
in the studies. This is it's
they-
not enough to explain that.
Again, but you don't know that it's race. This is the God of the gaps argument applied to racism.
Well, even if, let's say that's the case, and we don't have the science to prove that, the science looks the other way, it actually looks to be sending the other way in that. But let's assume
Well,
that's
the
the case.
studies that I've seen
Now we
suggest
have,
that
now we
black
have a
people are
social
less
justice
likely to
issue
be
of
shot.
poverty, where now we're saying the poor are pulled over more.
Yeah. Okay, why are black people poor?
Well, no. Well, let's just go right to poverty. Now, okay, you've now claimed that poverty is the issue, not race.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So now we've got a social justice issue that we
Sure.
can agree on and we
Okay.
can work on.
Why
to
are black
solve.
people poor?
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
I think it's actually quite easily explainable.
Well, are you going to cite scientific papers that study
Absolutely.
and confirm it? Okay.
Well,
let's-
I'm going to cite books by academics, please.
Okay. Oh, yes. Give me a book title.
Sure, Wealth, Poverty, and Politics.
Okay. And that has
But we-
scientific studies in it that's cited?
Oh, yeah. So, one of the top economists.
Okay. I'll look into that. So maybe I'll do a blog on it.
Have you never heard of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I know Equality Science. That's the book that I go to because that's the leading book on.
Okay, that's great. So but
Equality.
we can actually talk about the reasons that this happens, right? So the problem, I think, all comes down to fatherlessness in black communities.
Oh, you're talking about poverty, right? I get you.
Yeah, but no, not just poverty, but that's one major contributing factor to poverty. And then suddenly you have a whole host of other factors. And Demetrius just arrived.
I tried running out faster. It was a perfect stopping point, and I
Okay.
had.
All right.
But just to finish this one up. then.
Yeah.
So, like,
You can't just assert that, right? Like that's a factor for sure.
no, listen.
But we can
listen.
distinguish these factors.
No, listen. I can just assert that because we have the data.
Correct. So
And we actually have the data of what a married household's income looks like in the black community, and a married household's income, what that looks like in the white community, and the respective incomes for single-parent households.
Right.
We can map the poverty, why the black community is in poverty. We
but
can map that.
what is
We
the
know.
correlation coefficient? What's the correlation factor?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, but see, it's not going to be 1.
Well, I don't know, but it's very
Yeah.
high.
Well, okay.
But it's
well,
logically necessary that
But
this
that
is
means
true.
that is a component of the problem, right? There
Yeah,
may
but
be
it's a
other
major
there may be
component.
other components.
Yeah, there might be, but it's a major component.
Well,
Single-parent households.
if we've got
are
the
poor.
evidence, that's something we can talk about evidence-wise. And that's what
we
I
can.
think if like legitimate social justice would
Sure.
actually talk about these
But
things.
the problem is the interpretive problem, right? So as soon as you say, right, okay, black people aren't getting married, black women are having children out of wedlock, right? This creates deeply unhealthy communities. Young men need father figures, they need leadership, they need, guidance in their lives. It's very difficult for a single woman to do this. And it's not because they're bad people or bad parents or anything like that. Children are just difficult, right? So if you have a community where they have something like 72% single-parent households, that's a crime factory.
I agree, that's a problem.
Yes, it's a major problem.
Yeah,
But racism didn't cause that.
And let's just assume that's the case in every case, and it's not. But let's assume that it is. Now we're back to the issue of social justice, poverty, and childcare, right?
Okay, right, pause there. Because
Yeah.
the people who then say, oh, this is a problem, think that racism caused that.
Wait. Oh, caused which problem now? You got me confused.
The poverty and crime.
It's a contributing factor.
I don't know if we know that.
I don't think people say that it's.
If anything, it seems that racism was a causal factor in reducing the crime and poverty in the black community. If you look at graphs, you can see over time that after the introduction of what was the Big Society, LBJ's Big Society, where the welfare state was instituted, the destruction of the black family follows almost immediately. And then 10, 15 years later, the crime rates skyrocket as a bunch of feckless single children have got no role models, no leadership. But if you look prior to that, the marriage rates are virtually identical to white people, and the crime rate is virtually identical too. Racism, ironically, was actually good for the black community in this regard. Now, I know that someone's going to be like, oh my God, you think racism is good for black people? That's
I think
not
it's
what
a
I'm
bit of a
saying.
leap of logic there,
No,
but
it's not.
okay.
It's absolutely, it's demonstrable, right? This is the problem. And now, I'm not saying, obviously, that's a good idea, but what I'm saying is there is a problem that hits at that point, and we can see on the graphs it changing. So we need to deal with that. But it's not the fact that it was racism, because racism had the opposite effect. Now, I'm not suggesting we go back to racism, but we need to actually be able to analyze these actual issues without crying structural racism, because procedurally there isn't anything wrong. Anyone who does, like, say, walk around with a gun and commits loads of crimes, they're going to jail. It's just disproportionately, these people are coming out of black communities, and they're disproportionately coming out of these communities because of the family problems there.
Yeah, and if you want,
Guys, this
if you
is
want a
like double
good
Dutch. There is
social justice perspective on
there
it.
is no good time to get in, and that's
Yeah.
why I came out early, and my presence had zero effect, which is good.
Mine neither.
Well, what are we gonna do? Are you ready for questions?
Oh yeah,
Doesn't matter. We're still going for questions.
I'm down.
Please.
Hi, my name is Grace, and this is a question for both of you. I'm in the academic world, and I know many of the activists that Carrier talks about, the more rational ones. I also do a lot of research on the internet, and I know a lot of the activists that Sargon speaks about as well. My question is, what do you actually think social justice is? Because you seem to be in two different headspaces, and that seems to make this conversation less productive than it could have been. So what is social justice to the both of you?
You should start.
Well, I think we've actually spent the entire thing discussing the semantics of what each one believes social
Kind of,
justice
but
is.
yes.
So I hate to just brush over it, but we've been over it, man. So,
Richard, can you provide a social justice method that works? And Carl, can you provide why his answer isn't the best solution?
yes.
So there's a social justice organization called Happy Periods that recognize that homeless shelters and other systems that we put in place to help the homeless haven't been addressing a particular problem unique to women, which is access to pads, basically, to sanitary napkins and things. And so this organization seeks to redress that imbalance by actually making sanitary napkins and materials available to homeless women. That's an example of social justice activism working.
I'm totally in favor of that. And in fact, one of the problems in my country, for some reason, and this has always baffled me, and it's something I would definitely have changed, is sanitary towels and whatnot that women buy. For some reason, they're taxed as luxury goods. And I found, no, it's
Yeah.
baffling. I don't understand why this is the case. And I wish that social justice activists would choose this kind of uncontroversial point and say, right, we need to hit that, because that's a tangible
Well, they
change
do this.
could
It's
make
the
happen.
whole pink tax movement is about that kind of.
No, I wouldn't say that's the pink text movement.
It's similar though.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they would take issue even if you disagree with every particular issue that
All right,
they
let's
talk
not
about.
get too sidetracked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
well.
We got a lot of long line here. Next.
This is directed towards Dr. Carrier. When I first came up here, my first question was all about the way people from the social justice movement often try to dismiss criticism against them by saying the extremists, no, they don't have power or influence. And I kind of honestly wonder how many people heard that and said, that's a good point. Also clapped every time Sargon said that you're the minority and you don't have any power or influence. But I understand sort of where that mentality is coming from. So my question is, since we don't seem to have a lot of presence, honestly, it's obvious that our presence is being overshadowed. No matter if we are the majority or minority, I think that's kind of a distraction. Whether we are or we are not, our presence is nonetheless being overtaken by extremists. So I guess my question to you would be, you didn't really have a good opportunity to get it in, but how can we increase our presence and marginalize that extremist presence in order to get the gears turning, as it were?
Yeah. What I would love to see is everyone in this room who agrees this should happen, let's say. I don't know if maybe there's some people in here who don't, I don't know. But everyone in this room, everyone who watches Sargon's channels, everything, we've got lots of people who want this to happen. What I would like them to do is engage in good evidence-based selective criticism of the bad actors and then replace that, sit right next to it, positive action as an alternative scenario. So that we're not just perceived as attacking their cause, but we're actually showing that we recognize that the problem exists and we have better solutions and they're the ones who are fucking it up. And I think if more and more people did this and actually stood up for people who get attacked by the extremists and actually speak out against them, that's the solution to the problem. Now, there's definitely tons of people willing to do this.
Hang on, right, we've got to talk about that because,
Okay.
What do you think all of these people have tried to do?
No, we're doing it though, right?
No, we're not. We're getting blocked. We're getting deplatformed.
Okay.
We're getting fucked by the social justice activists.
Well-
your solution, we've tried it, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
No, it doesn't. Richard, don't say no. It doesn't.
You're
We've tried
not
it.
getting blocked for doing what I just said.
Yes, we are.
No. Not, if you produce a good evidence-based video that just no, seriously, that has criticism and an alternative solution proposed,
Oh, do you think they'll listen?
you're not going to get blocked for that. Come on.
No.
You get
come
blocked
on.
for other things.
Okay. All right, Richard.
All right, let's move on. Next.
Yeah.
That doesn't connect to what
Okay,
we're talking
they're totally reasonable and up for a debate.
Just a quick note, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that the luxury tax is in place of state tax.
I can't
It's
hear you, I'm
actually-
sorry.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that the luxury tax is in place of state tax and is actually cheaper. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know about the situation in this country.
Right.
I was referring to my own.
So,
sorry.
my question is actually for Richard. I've heard a lot of things about labels today, and it seems that you have a kind of an interesting viewpoint on labels when it comes to your own. You keep talking about bad actors and how you're the real social justice, and these aren't true social justice that we're trying to talk about. But then when you went into a little bit of men's rights, you kind of said, some people will do this thing where they see you do something that kind of applies to that, and they apply that label to you, and then all of a sudden they apply all the bad things too. Mm-hmm. I've also kind of heard you do this in the beginning where you're kind of applying anybody who shares your ideology but not your label. And you say, no,
I
those
couldn't
are
hear that word, sorry.
they share your ideology but not your label. And you say, those are the people that are the true social justice warriors.
I still can't hear that word. What?
Label.
Label.
They share your
Oh,
ideology,
oh,
but
I
not your
see.
label.
So
understand
what
the
my question is that when do you kind of say that you can apply a label to another group of people, and then in that same question, when do you realize that a label has become so toxic that it's time to eschew that label?
I mean, that's similar to people saying that because there's so much stigma against the word atheism that atheists shouldn't call themselves atheists. I don't think that's the proper way to handle the semantic problem there. What we need to do is recover the word. We need to reclaim it for for the really good stuff, actually. So we need to actually give positive arguments for good, proper, evidence-based social justice. We need to actually we need to model ourselves, and actually in our activism, in our publications, and in the way we communicate in the world, on the internet, social media, and everything. We need to present positive models of the kind of social justice we do want to see in the world, and defend that. That's what we need to do. And it's just the same thing that atheists have been doing for their own identity.
Man,
in terms of getting atheism
I agree
accepted.
with you, right? I agree with you, right? And I ran into this with the MRAs. I actually had the same thing. I was like, I would just dump the label because it's just unrecoverable. But a friend of mine was like, no, I'm taking you to task over that, and he was right and I was wrong, and he had your solution. We should recover the label, I agree. But it's not that there's a problem with the label. As soon as you say, right, okay, well, what we should do is, and then you think, okay, the forces arrayed against you in your mission are titanic. They have unbelievable amounts of funding, unbelievable numbers of activists. They're in all of our institutions. They hold institutional power. They are the ones crippling people and voices speaking out against them. And you are so naive. You're like, we can just make reasoned videos and they won't block us. Dude, you do not have a good grasp on what's actually going on
The
here.
only way to change minds is to change minds.
Yes, except when someone
So-
is using institutional force against you. I mean, how do you think the Catholic Church dealt with the Cathars?
Yeah, no, I
No,
don't
I'm
object
asking you
to
a
what-
question. Just answer it.
No, but I mean, you're
No,
talking
just
about...
answer my question.
No, I
Just
don't...
answer my question.
Okay.
How do you think
they're
they dealt with
heretics,
it?
so I'm assuming they killed them.
They crusaded against
Yeah.
them, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so no,
Because they couldn't persuade them. Because they
Yeah.
have a view of the world that is instantly and it delegitimizes anything you say before you say it because you are a white male.
but that's not, for example, as atheists, for example, let's take atheism as a social justice identity. Like, we have discrimination against us in the U.S. in various ways.
I don't agree that atheism is a social justice identity.
Well, it's because you don't like the word. You
Well,
call
atheism?
it is, atheists face discrimination for being atheists.
No,
That happens.
no, listen.
All right, quickly,
can-
guys, and then we
Let's wrap this in a bow in like 10 seconds.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry.
You guys ready to move on?
Yeah, no, we can move on. We were getting into the weeds.
Hi there, my name is Adam. I have a question for Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin. So the debate that you're going on about right now is, for example, I see, how do you define social justice? For one group, for example, abortion is an issue of social justice and they want to promote abortions, but for Christian evangelicals, social justice means preventing abortions. So these issues come out into other places, like, for example, what's going on in South Africa with Julius Malema of the EFF party, Cyril Ramaphosa, and Jacob Zuma of the ANC party, who want to confiscate property based on a person's skin color. So how do they get to define, who gets to define the social justice and how this plays it
I
here?
can't hear him very well. Sorry, say that again, sorry.
Who gets to define social justice, for example, in situations like in South Africa with Julius Malema, Jacob Zuma, and Cyril Ramaphosa trying to confiscate property from people based on their skin color as a social justice issue?
They have broadly the same definition of social justice that the activists in our universities have. They have exactly the same kind of worldview, oppressor, oppressed. They are no different whatsoever. And that's why it's almost impossible to get not you, but our social justice activists to even talk about it. And even when they do, they'll sit there and make excuses. They don't, I mean, like, who was it? Oh God, what was the newspaper that cited Julius Malema as the counterpoint to Lauren Southern's video about what terrible things are happening? It's like, dude, he's the genocidal maniac. And they cited him.
And Sean King came out in favor on Twitter of the policy also. So it's a very...
So basically, I mean, obviously every movement defines its own terms. These are the terms they've defined, and I mean, I personally would let them have that word and then define a different term, just because, again, you are insignificant in power compared to them. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say it to be mean.
Me
I am too.
personally,
No.
me
But
personally,
you
that's
and
true.
your movement,
Yeah.
our movement is probably insignificant in comparison to theirs too. I mean, like, they control so much.
But there's a lot of us all together.
Not really.
You
Not
know,
compared
this
to them.
audience, your audience.
Yeah, but my audience aren't on your side.
No, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, maybe, okay, no, that's
No.
not fair.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a lot of, but the thing is, like, you're just going to get blocked and deplatformed the second you do the things that start to actually challenge their hegemony.
Okay.
Last comment?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I think people are getting blocked for other things. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Hi, can you hear me? Yep. So my question comes partly from Thomas Sowell. So
Could you speak up a little bit? Sorry.
my question partly comes from Thomas Sowell. So what does the phrase social justice mean in practice, and what does the justice part of it like make it social? Like where's the social aspect of it go into justice?
Who's this to?
Mostly to Richard, but
Okay.
to both of you will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, justice means equity, so, and means that if there are inequities in society, the justice part of it is trying to get rid of those inequities in some fashion. And the social means that it's inequity inherent in the social system, so it's a statement about social systems is what it is. That's where the term comes from, social justice.
Okay, so we touched on it a little bit, and I thought we would go a little bit more into it as far as the secular and atheist.
Speak up,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. We talked about a little bit. You talked about the atheist community and the secular community, and I thought it was going to be a little bit more about that. So, just as a general question, do you or do you not think that as skeptic atheists that we should be involved in any sort of, to use his definition of social justice, that is backed by religious apologists, such as, I mean, gay marriage is now allowed. However, with abortion rights, there's a lot of religious push for why it is not pro-choice.
And this is to which
I
one?
don't understand the question, though.
It's, I guess, whoever
Sure.
understands the question.
I mean, look, so you can do political activism for whatever it is you want, obviously. The problem is the method by which you go about it. Now, I'm sure that that's someone from like what you would consider your community, right? And like the people who are concerned about social issues, but are not intersectional SJW, you know,
Okay.
those people, right? Now, again, like I don't care how you go about any of these things. The problem is, like I said, not with you guys. You are actually the victims of the people that I'm opposing.
Sure.
And you've had to recuse them completely. You're not part of that. You don't support it. There is no point for us really to be on this stage and discuss this issue. So it doesn't matter how you go about it. That's just that's a conversation you need to have with your activists elsewhere.
I'm not sure that answered the question, but okay.
Yeah, that wasn't about atheism at all.
No, it was about social issues, how she can solve social issues. And again, it doesn't matter, as long as you're not hurting other people, as long as you're not being racist about it, as long as you're not being sexist about it. It doesn't matter, you know, go put up posters and say, do charity drives, whatever, you know. Don't sit there deplatforming people and hurting them, literally violating their rights. And I'm not saying you're in favor of that, but
Yeah.
again,
No, I agree with
you
you.
know, we're in agreement. We have the same enemy there.
So this one is for Richard Carrier. So basically, when going over the idea of social justice, how would you demand to expound upon it when the very faculty that tries to administer it, say in Italy, in Hungary, get expelled for essentially what amounts to breaking the law because those that need equity, such as the refugees, are found to be breaking the law in tandem because they're encouraged by those who are trying to facilitate social justice, i.e. openness societies and refugee resettlers.
I can't answer that because I don't know any of the facts of that situation, so I can't evaluate it.
Next time.
I'm Chris. My question is for Richard Carrier because he really wants to talk about abortion. So every pro-life person I've talked to, they're worried about the personhood of the developing human. If men could get pregnant, do you really think the pro-life people would be like, yeah, men can destroy the developing humans because they're men? If not, then why do you think it's a women's rights issue?
Wait, what was that last?
Yeah, I
one?
didn't get
I'm not sure I
question
get that.
I'm sorry, I'm partially.
Could you just give us it simply, and lean in as well, because
Yeah,
it is difficult to hear you.
And I'm partially deaf, so it's extra hard for me.
Just give it simply, please. Don't dress it up.
So every pro-life person I've talked to, they're worried about the personhood of the developing human. If men could get pregnant, do you think pro-life people would be okay with men having abortions? And if not, then why do you call it a women's rights issue?
Oh, I see. Well, in this hypothetical alien planet you're talking about, it wouldn't be. It's only a women's issue precisely because of the fact that the women are the only ones who can have this issue.
That seems rather transphobic.
Oh, good point. No, thank you.
Well,
yes,
no,
I should.
but at least,
no, I should. No, actually, I should acknowledge
No, you shouldn't,
this.
because you're not an intersectional social justice
No,
advocate.
but I believe in this particular aspect of
Oh, it's
social
nice
justice.
cherry
This is
picking.
this is a social justice activism I believe in. He's right. I should mention that there are, of course, trans men who can get pregnant, and that does matter. There actually are issues related specifically to trans men in having access to pregnancy care and abortion care, and that's a real social justice issue too.
Sargon, huge fan, wearing one of your shirts actually, about communists.
Oh yeah, looks good.
But my question's actually for Richard. Richard, do you see
You got me excited there. I was, oh, of course I
But I agree with you already. I want to know his position.
I know, it's just been frustrating because Richard won't address any of the things I want to talk about. And I don't blame you, you don't support them. But it's just been frustrating. I was hoping like a bunch of SJWs would come up and say, well, what about, you know...
Oh yeah,
but-
there's none in line. Aren't
Sorry,
there?
yeah,
So
yeah.
Richard-
I would actually. I'm kind of bummed that didn't happen.
Yeah,
Anyway,
right, it would have been great.
yeah.
For the problems you mention, aside from abortion, things like racial injustice, etc., do you see the solution being more of an individualistic approach, or do you see it being more group-based, like racially approached or sex approached, or whatever is the particular issue that you are trying to fight?
It'll vary, right? So it depends on what the problem is, and then we can try. There's a variety of different evidence-based solutions you can attempt, and then of course you have ethical limitations on what you can do. It's too complicated. There's no general answer to that. But I've given several examples in this talk of like actual social justice activism, like the Happy Period Project, the Open Policing Project, and things like this, that are actually doing things that matter and that can change. And sometimes it might be legislation, and like in the case of abortion, sometimes it might be just awareness. So for example, humans are subject to tons of cognitive biases, we know. And actually, like, we know that it's possible to be affected by racist and sexist biases that we're not aware of, but you can become more aware of them through education and exposure to the ideas. And there are tons of guys who've written about how they've changed their perspective and started changing their behavior in reaction to this, or white people too, about like thinking about how, oh, you know, I was thinking certain things and it wasn't really rational for me to think that, and so on. So they're just being made aware of the possibility, and then like being able to live the self-examined life, like Socrates says. So some of it is just education and people being made more aware, and so it could just be as simple as that. But there's a variety of different ways to solve these problems, and it depends on cases, basically.
Can I just... I don't know why you even have any truck with people who say that they're advocates of social justice, because that was a great answer. That was a genuinely great answer. And it's the sort of answer I would have ended up referencing myself, probably not as eloquently as that. I don't know why you have any truck with the people who are against you. Like, but you promoted these people, you helped them, and not necessarily, I mean, like wolves in sheep's clothing.
Correct.
You know, I'm well aware. And now I feel really bad that I went hard on you at the beginning of this. I'm like, Christ, you said you were going to defend social justice. So I'm like, that was the implication.
Gotcha, okay.
And so I'm thinking, Christ, I'm not even talking to the person I need to be talking to. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sorry that I went hard on you, man. But like, why do you deal with them? Why do you deal with them?
Well, I deal with them the same reason I deal with Christian fundamentalists, right?
Oh, I like that. That's very good.
And really, like every single part of the answer would be the same for both groups.
It's very similar, isn't it?
Hey, Sargon, longtime fan. How do we
Nice shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you like aliens, huh? How do we inoculate normies from the like really heavy-duty moralism that SJWs kind of throw on them?
Sorry, again.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
How do we inoculate normies against SJW like emotional guilt, like when they heap emotional guilt onto you? That's something I deal with in my practical life like quite a bit. And when do we get that turnaround where it's sort of the normies come in and embrace?
Honestly, that's a really good question. Because most people are very sensitive to kind of social shaming, and it really, I mean, it takes a lot to push a person to the point where they say, I don't care what my peer group thinks. I mean, that is a hell of a thing to do.
Are we getting there?
Yes, I think so. I think we're definitely on our way. But I mean, like, you know, mockery is a great, you know, it's always the great leveler. For anyone who comes along and seeks to declare how you have to live your life, if you have the freedom to mock them, and they're mockable, you should probably do it. Because it's the easiest way to get around it.
Dr. Carrier, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question's for you specifically. I'm really glad you came out here, and I like the direction the conversation took at about the halfway mark. But before that, you were spending a lot of time saying no true social justice would ever put sugar on their porridge. And I know you wouldn't accept that from a Christian You're laughing, but you wouldn't accept that from a Christian fundamentalist, saying no true Christian fundamentalist would ever so-and-so.
No, I don't say that they, for some reason, can't call themselves social justice activists. It's a question of doing it well or doing it badly. Like, I can do this.
You know the
I
people
don't think
he's
that's
talking
true.
about, right? You were distinguishing yourselves as yourself from the
Oh, I see. Yeah,
people who
sometimes
weren't
I say
true
like
Scotsmen.
real social justice activism.
Yeah,
when
it
I
was
said
a no
things
true
like that.
Scotsman fallacy.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was just a colloquialism to refer to.
Sorry, is there a question?
There is a
No, I get it. Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
no,
There's a
no.
question in addition to that. Yeah.
I think you know the people he's talking about. You call them the extremists. Can we just talk about the harm they cause to people, the suffering they cause to people, and without trying to deflect blame, just talk about that ideology and how bad it is?
So, in terms of practical persuasion, like what we know from the science of persuasion, if you only do that, what people are going to see is you attacking everything that they're doing rather than the specific thing, right? This is why it's so important that if you're going to criticize them, which you definitely should do, you should pair that immediately with a positive example of what you think the correct way to be handling the problem that they're solving is, right? So like you should have positive social justice activism model paired right next to the negative model so that it's very clear that you are not against the goals and that you aren't against solving these problems. You think the problems matter and you have solutions for them. What you're against is the way they're doing it. And so if you pair those two together in terms of persuasion, it's much more effective.
I think you come back to the problem of there are people who just directly oppose you. So I mean, it's again.
Well, that'll always happen.
Yeah, I
It's,
know.
Again,
I know.
like just like Christian fundamentalists.
I know, but the problem then is what do the activists do when they fail? And unfortunately, we know that this group of particularly toxic people get vicious. You know, I mean, I'm not suggesting you're responsible for that or anything like that. But you know, these are the things that I think people are trying to address. Sorry.
Yes, I'm going to attempt to articulate these points I want to make in the direction that we're going in. Okay, you're talking about how a majority of these social justice warriors don't reflect your values, Richard, and that they don't reflect what you really think. The problem is this: democracy. Democracy of the majority dictates rule over the minority. And this is the issue you have to understand. It's very simple. I actually lived under a type of situation where these type of people controlled everything from free speech to the point where they wanted the power to be able to arrest you for basically disagreeing with you, and that happened to me. So, if you have no platform, no voice, no ability to defend yourself from accusations, and you are the minority, how are you supposed to defend yourself in social justice when a majority doesn't see it the way you do?
It's the same as any minority that's in that position. As
What are
an
you going to
atheist,
do about it? What are the real solutions to fix the problem?
Whatever you can do in that situation. You may be disempowered in a lot of ways, but you got to do what you got to do, whatever you have.
If you don't have a voice, you have no power.
Yeah, this
Sure.
comes-
I mean, I don't understand what you're asking. Like,
okay, what he's saying is when he is under attack by institutionally backed forces, what can he do? And by extension, I suppose, what can you do? And this comes back to what I was saying, is like, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned.
well, if we work
We're
together,
out-financed.
if we work together more,
Okay, and I
we
would
can
love
do
to
these
do
things.
that. But I mean, now you have to persuade Chris Yosti and Mike Rowlands and the rest of that little crew to do that. They seem to be one of our primary opponents. How are we going to do that?
I'm not sure what you mean. I assumed you were posing them as the enemy in this scenario.
Well, I believe they view me as the enemy.
Right. No, we're talking about his specific situation that he was talking about, which I don't know the particulars of.
Sure.
But it's the same answer that you would give for anyone in that position from any other oppressive situation. Whether it's Christians, whether it's if you're an atheist in Iran, for example. Let's take an extreme example.
But we can
What do
agree.
you do?
We can agree that the extreme social justice types are oppressing people.
Yes. I think that's, if you want to use the oppression the way
I think that cruel and
they
unjust
would
treatment
use
over
it,
a
for
prolonged
example.
period of time is
Yeah.
a fair definition.
Got
Okay.
maybe a few more?
One, two maximum.
Okay.
Understood.
Sorry, guys.
Good evening. This is to the panel as a general thing. I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you are, or Sargon, about how it's going to play out.
Well, I'm not very optimistic.
Okay,
Didn't
so
sound optimistic at all.
the thing that I think that the conference has been dodging is, look, we know they're coming for us.
Yeah.
They 1984'd Alex Jones, and he had 10 times the subscribers of everybody here. So, look, Professor,
Wait, who, what was that last
Alex Jones got deplatformed
Oh,
and
I
he had
see.
millions
Gotcha.
of followers.
And I respect your work, Professor Carrier, but you yourself have admitted you're in the minority. You're not the man holding the gun. And they're probably going to come after you after they watch this as well. So my question is, from a political, realist perspective, when you're faced with, as you said, the Melian dialogue, what are we going to do?
Let's start working together to solve the problem. Just like every other problem you might face in that similar outnumbered
Okay,
situation.
Okay, but like, what do you think we should do?
No, support each other. You support each other online, you actually create a crowd effect. If more people stand up for each other in these situations, if more people speak out, if more people help financially if that's needed.
Okay, but
there's lots of things we can do.
Okay, but to do that, what you're going to have to do is put yourself in declared opposition to intersectionality.
You don't even have to frame it that way.
I think you
just,
do.
No, you don't have to.
I think you do.
All you have to do is criticize the actual behaviors that you are targeting.
Okay,
as
but
bad.
that is going
you don't,
to...
You don't need to talk about...
Even if you don't frame it that way, that's how they will frame you. I mean, that's exactly how
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah.
frame this alternative influence and network.
I'm not saying that this is going to persuade them. I'm saying that this can help people in these
But
situations.
what I'm saying is, we can now confirm that you are an opponent of intersectionality.
But see, that's the thing, is like you're using the word differently.
No, I'm using the word as they use.
Intersectionality is just a description of a fact of social systems. It's not an ideology.
That's wrong. That's just wrong. Come on, Matt, that's wrong.
This question is for Sargon. First of all, we definitely express our gratitude for you flying across the Atlantic to express your thoughts and opinions and time with us. Very valuable.
It's no problem, I swear.
But a lot of us are wondering, what will be your first act as British Prime Minister?
Okay.
That's actually a good question. I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just before I get into that, there is zero possibility of me becoming the
Well, we
Prime
know
Minister of
this,
my
yeah.
country. No.
Me too.
No,
I'm not-
but you could run for president as an individual. I mean, it's...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I can't actually do that. In my
Right.
country, it's local constituencies are what you run for, and then the party that wins forms a majority and picks the Prime Minister from within the party. So I could never do that. There's no way UKIP are ever going to win a majority, or at least in the foreseeable future.
But you're saying there's a chance.
No, I am saying there is zero chance. But yeah, I mean, I would probably, Christ, I don't even know. What would I do?
Party, huge party.
I mean,
You should do a video on this.
I should.
I want to see this video.
I should.
Yeah.
No,
seriously, I
actually,
really
yeah,
do.
No, I'm actually.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, you know, there's. I think probably the first thing I would do is implement some kind of. I mean, I would like. I don't even know if I want a written constitution because it's unfamiliar to the country I come from. But I would certainly have some kind of digital Bill of Rights to guarantee a minimum quality of a person's use and a minimum set of services that would have to be guaranteed. Because I mean, like for example, InfoWars got terminated from PayPal. What was it, like yesterday or today? And it's like that is one of the most fundamental like linkages and like tendons of the internet. It's how you send money around the internet. And they've been deplatformed because of a far left ideology, frankly, and I think that's unacceptable. I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay, I respect the man in the black, even though I said no more questions, but I see you have a lanyard, so you will get the first question when you come to the after party. I promise. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, huge applause, please.
Richard. Good job.
Man, we're even getting a standing ovation. This is beautiful. Okay, ladies, gentlemen, dare I say friends at this point. It's been a long, exhilarating day, and I would say an unbelievable success. And I assume from your applause that you had a good time. So